AJB Live will begin momentarily. AJB Live will begin momentarily.
The pursuit of justice for little Harmony Montgomery comes down to today, as her convicted murderer, her father, Adam Montgomery, will learn his fate in a sentencing hearing scheduled for this afternoon. We're going to have the live courtroom feed coming up from the Stream Center.
Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida. Top stories, breaking news, interactive coverage in the palm of your hand. This is Hey JB Live. Here's JB Biunno.
You know, it's interesting with this story. Adam Montgomery was not present at trial. He wasn't present when the verdict was read. Again, being convicted of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. But we have been told through the union leader, their report from the last couple of hours, that Adam Montgomery is at the courthouse and will be present for when the sentence is read in a New Hampshire courtroom. Hello there to you folks. JB here with you live from the Stream Center across several platforms. We'll be live on all platforms momentarily. Facebook will be next. Hello to our audience joining us on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, HeyJB.live, and YouTube Live, where we've got a lot of folks joining us from a lot of different places. We've got Risha joining us from Leeds, England. We've got, let's see here. My goodness, we've got, they're coming in really fast. Jen DC from Montreal, Canada. We've got Meg joining us from the UK. Wendy Williams, Goldsboro, North Carolina. Lee Piway is joining us from Belgium. An international audience clearly here for little Harmony Montgomery and the hope that there is justice for Harmony Montgomery. That is our featured question that we have for you from the Stream Center this afternoon. And you'll see it here on the bottom of your screen. We are asking you, really, what outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony Montgomery? We'll get into the story of Harmony, the tragedy of it all over the course of the next 15, 20 or so minutes. But you can go to our website, www.heyjb.live, to vote in that featured question that we have. This is what it looks like here on a phone. If you go to our website, it'll ask you, which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? And then we have different options here. 56 years in prison is the minimum, as we understand it, that the prosecution asked for. Life in prison is the maximum that is on the table, as we understand it. There are some people that believe that regardless of the outcome of today, that there is no justice for Harmony, given the tragedy that has unfolded and the fact that her body was never recovered. Or if you think that justice for Harmony looks something different than the three options we have presented for you, very simply, you can submit a comment. You don't have to sign up, anything like that. It's just a simple one tap plus comment widget on our website, and you can find it by going to www.heyjb.live. So we'll see the results come in momentarily, and you can see the vote counter is on the bottom of your screen as well. My goodness, Harmony Montgomery. The most the part about this story that always makes my heart sink and just churns my stomach is the fact that Harmony was missing for 2 years before it was ever reported to authorities. Authorities never really had a chance. And as we would find out about how tragic Harmony's life was, even when she was alive, the abuse that she suffered at the hands of those who were supposed to be taking care of her, it was just absolutely the result of evil. And we, of course, have been following this story so closely. There's a tie with us here in Florida with a family member of Harmony that was key testimony in the case. But fast forward to today, the trial itself is over. Adam Montgomery, her father, has been convicted. The details are disturbing as to how Harmony met her end. It's even more disturbing that we do not have her remains, and her mother, Crystal Sorey, doesn't have the opportunity to do a proper burial. And that Adam, according to authorities, withholding information. It's all a tragic outcome. But we have a conviction for her father, Adam Montgomery, and we'll show you the most recent courtroom picture that we have. Because, again, over the course of the legal process, Adam Montgomery was not part of it. He chose to not be present. This is something that we've experienced locally here in Florida with Madeline Soto in the Stephen Stearns case, who has not yet appeared in a court of law, despite the fact, of course, that you think that somebody who's being charged with murder would want to be involved and present for their own defense. But Adam has chose not to be present, with the exception of, I think, one day. Was it the first day of jury selection? That is correct. Shout out to the union leader. They've really done a great job organizing their reports and putting together a lot of great information. And I always, people that follow me know that I'm such a big supporter of local journalism and the hardworking reporters that stay so on top of these stories. Union leader done a great job. NBC Boston has done a great job. I encourage you to go check those two destinations out, and some of the other great local journalists that have been covering this story for years. We're going to be referencing them quite a bit on stream. So union leader reporting that Adam Montgomery has showed up. And for those of you looking for the live courtroom feed, we have the coordinates in. It's locked into the stream center here. The moment that the feed comes in, I'll be able to hit the touchscreen here. I'm looking, there's a monitor. You can't really see it from Slider Cam, but there's a monitor right there, all the way on the right side of the stream center where all of our feeds are. And the moment that I see it come in, it's right here within my line of sight. The moment that the feed comes in from the courtroom, I will punch that up and we will have a high quality feed to go to from a New Hampshire courtroom. So Adam Montgomery has skipped pretty much the entirety of his trial. He was there for day one of jury selection, and he must not have enjoyed that experience because he didn't show up at any point going forward, including for the verdict, when his fate was, in essence, being decided. But now the judge in this case has ordered that Adam be present, and he has been transported to the courthouse. And as I understand it from the union leader, he is going to be making his way into the courtroom momentarily. And also some other things here as well. And again, reading this from union leader, just so everybody knows where I'm getting my information from. Over the course of the process, lawyers were forced to show witnesses that were testifying a picture of Adam for proper identification. And several, including Harmony's mother, Crystal Sorey, have said that they look forward to addressing Montgomery face-to-face. Yes, there will be a lot of loved ones of Harmony Montgomery who will be called up today for the opportunity to have their voice heard over the course of sentencing. I'm very curious as to how many people will be involved in that process. And then also, as well, the union leader has a subsection here in their article that says, "Will Adam speak?" It would be a complete 180 for somebody who has not participated in their own defense choosing to remain in a jail cell rather than be in a court of law as their fate was being decided. It would be a complete 180 if all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Adam Montgomery wanted to speak and have his side of the story told. Would testimony today, would hearing some of the I'm sure the emotional accounts from people as to how Harmony was ripped from their lives, will that sway Adam at all to speak and address those who have been addressing him directly in a court of law today? I don't know. But it is here, and I'll read it as follows. At a sentencing hearing on firearm charges, Montgomery stood up and said he did not kill Harmony, and he looked forward to defending himself at trial. Quote, "I love my daughter unconditionally, and I didn't kill her." End quote. Quote continues, "So I understand that I was found guilty by a jury, and I'm not here to dispute that at all. The only consideration that I have for you, not to consider anything as it relates to this case regarding my daughter, Harmony." And then the union leader reporter writes, he did not live up to that promise. So Adam has spoke in a court of law on, again, that was not pertaining to the murder charge. That was pertaining to that was pertaining to the firearm charges. But could he have a change of heart to speak today? To have a change of heart, you have to have a heart to begin with. I leave that up to our audience here to determine if you think that that's even possible today. Will Adam be swayed into speaking? Does he have a plan to speak himself? Does it matter? Does it matter? You could make the argument that the only way that it does matter is if he provides something of value. And really the only thing that I would imagine the prosecutors would agree that the only thing of value that he has left that he could provide is the location of Harmony's remains. Because we're now going to get into some of the details about what happened to Harmony, who again was missing for 2 years before it was ever reported to police. He was 5 years old. We're about to get more into it, and as a just a precaution, some of the details here are gruesome. I'm looking here over my over the other side of the stream center. We do not have a feed in just yet. The moment that feed comes in, we'll pop it up here on screen. From NBC Boston, investigators believe that Harmony Montgomery was slain in December of 2019, though she wasn't reported missing for almost 2 years. Kayla Montgomery, that's Adam's wife, testified that the body was hidden in the trunk of a car, a cooler, a ceiling vent, and a workplace freezer before Adam Montgomery disposed of it. Adam Montgomery had custody of the girl. Her mother, Crystal Sorey, who was no longer in a relationship with him, said at the time that she saw Harmony Montgomery during a video call in April of 2019. She eventually went to police, who announced that they were looking for the missing child New Year's Eve 2021, again, about 2 years later. Photos of the girl widely circulated on social media. We were on live stream repeatedly trying to get out the information if anybody had seen Harmony Montgomery over the course of that 2-year gap. Kayla Montgomery would go on to testify that her husband repeatedly punched Harmony Montgomery in the face and head because he was angry that she was having bathroom accidents in the car. The couple noticed the girl was dead hours later when their car broke down, at which time Adam Montgomery folded up her body and put it in a duffel bag. This is the stuff of pure evil. This is not just a 5-year-old girl. This is your daughter who had a bathroom accident in a vehicle, says Kayla, and was abused and murdered for it. Based on that testimony, it's hard to envision a more tragic final few hours or days of a child's life. I mean, this child didn't even get a chance, and that's really what's been put forth. That's what's been put forth in the sentencing memo. and I'll read this from the sentencing memo, the effect that this crime had on Harmony's family and the community is immeasurable. The defendant robbed Harmony and her family of the person she was going to become. He killed all potential she had and eradicated the potential good she could do for her family and the community. Harmony left behind 2 young siblings, one who was 1 year old when he last saw her and another born later who will never know her. That's from the sentencing memo. I believe that we might be getting in the feed here momentarily. And at that time, too, we're going to take the next 5 minutes just to spotlight your questions, your comments with hashtag HeyJB. So actually, let's go to the comments as they are coming in. And if you want to submit a VIP comment, you can do so on www.heyjb.live, and we will try to get to as many of those as possible. In fact, I'm going to reload those now and add those to the queue. So let's go to Louise. This is the most recent comment that I have. There will never be justice for Harmony, but there is no place in the world for people like him. Part of me wants the death sentence. I struggle with taking the life of another being, but, and I think it was, no, I don't think it was going to continue. I think it was just ending there on the word but. And we'll put this over here. Okay, so yeah, we talked about this on the live stream last time, folks. People that are calling for the death penalty. It is not on the table in this case. This was not a capital case, and so the death penalty is not on the table. What I am confused about, and I'll be honest, I'm trying to figure out if life without parole is possible, or is it life with parole, the possibility of getting out at some point, or is it life without parole, which is basically you will never see from outside of a correctional facility ever again. Judy McManus says no parole. Jellen says no parole. Death sentence is too easy for him, but saves the state the costs of housing him. Stand by. I think we're going to be getting the feed in here momentarily. Other questions and comments? Again, this is an opportunity for everybody to have their voice heard. Debra says life in prison so he can suffer. Grumpy says life would be too easy. Stand by. I've been told the feed will be starting here right at 1 o'clock. And we'll be able to watch live from a New Hampshire courtroom. I don't have an idea yet as to how many people are going to be speaking. There are so many that knew Harmony Montgomery, that knew that know Crystal Sorey. People that want their voice to be heard, that want to confront the convicted murderer in this case. And that's that man right there. All right, the feed is in. Let's go to it here live. And I'll try to punch up some audio, see if audio is coming through yet. Here we go. Stand by. As we get a look now at the courtroom, you would anticipate this is going to be a packed courtroom. Union leader reported that people were filing in here for hours. Still no, I have audio up full blast, meaning that if audio begins to come through, we will all hear it together. And right now the feed is muted. That is done in a pool camera situation. They activate audio and turn it on once the actual hearing itself begins. As we await the beginning of the sentencing hearing, the sentencing itself, we will, of course, spotlight your comments. Big function of the Stream Center is to make sure that your voice is heard, and we're going to go to as many comments as we can. Once the audio comes in and once the actual proceeding begins, we'll go full screen and listen in. But in the meantime, let's go to Ginger here on HeyJB.live. The fact that he can't even take responsibility for what he did is almost as disgusting as what he did. What Ginger is referencing is that he, in essence, I'm paraphrasing here, but Adam Montgomery, through his defense, the argument was that while he was guilty of abusing and transporting the corpse of the remains of Harmony Montgomery, he is saying that he was not guilty of murdering her. That was something that, at least in the court of public opinion, people on social media, there were few that actually bought that defense. And clearly, the jury didn't buy that defense. We have a lot of people just saying justice for Harmony. I want to point out that in the courtroom, union leader reporting that there are a lot of people wearing purple ribbons, and purple being the color for justice for Harmony and that cause. And if you would like to voice your support, we've seen this with other cases in the past. Purple heart emojis are something where people can, just kind of join in. Hashtags, emojis, these are things that if you can't be there in person, if you can't be in the courtroom, there's only a finite amount of space, obviously, and you can't. Not everybody can be in this New Hampshire courtroom, so people can, support this cause digitally, and they do so through those means. Lindsay says, hashtag KJB. Well, Adam, this is from YouTube Live. Again, if you use hashtag KJB, I can spotlight your comments there as well. Will Adam actually appear in the courtroom for sentencing this time? We have been told that he's there. I don't know if he's in the courtroom yet. He's in the courthouse. And so the judge ordered him to be present for the actual sentencing itself. He wasn't there for a majority of the trial outside of one day of jury selection, the first day. He wasn't there when the verdict was read. An eyebrow-raising occurrence, no? The verdict is being read, and you're going to sit in a jail cell rather than sit in a courtroom or stand in a courtroom to hear exactly what a jury of your peers determined should be your fate, guilty or not guilty. So Adam will appear. I was unable to see if he was seated there just yet, or if he will be brought in also as well. I'd be curious to see. You would imagine he's going to be in the uniform, the orange jumpsuit that you see, that we've seen him in the past. Oh, audio's coming in. Hear that? Here, let's go full screen. Will he be in handcuffs? Has he already been brought in? These are things we're going to be finding out here momentarily. This is a pool camera feed, so a single camera I believe, or a single camera system inside the courtroom that's being fed out to the media. So everybody's getting the same feed. That was likely a quick just audio check to make sure that the courtroom audio was working. This is a great question, and I appreciate Benjamin asking this question. #HJB, will you be streaming live or just play-by-play so we can watch? Thank you. No, I am very much of the belief that we provide the stream itself. The Stream Center is about giving you the feed. It's not about me providing play-by-play. There are some great YouTubers out there that do incredible work where they will, voice commentary and provide, context and opinion over the course of a courtroom feed. Shout out Emily Baker, who's probably one of the best at that. Peter Tragos, the lawyer, absolutely outstanding at it. But no, on this channel, we go live to the feed so that you can watch it basically raw. And then afterwards, after the stream is done or after the feed is done, after that event has concluded, then I come back on and we break down what we have learned and we get your reaction interactively with hashtag comments and of course with featured questions. Speaking of which, as a reminder, for those of you just joining us, our featured question is live on www.heyjb.live. You can go over there. It's one tap to vote. Which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? We have 74 votes in so far. We'll try to get this higher and higher over the course of the live stream. And then after the live stream, after the sentencing is done, we will come back to this and we will look at your results to see if the outcome that the judge selected is in line with what people wanted. How the judge sees it versus how the public at large sees it. So again, you can go to www.heyjb.live. This is my last push to this. If you want to vote in our featured question, this is, again, interactive journalism. This is what we do to be able to get these featured questions in the palm of your hand so that we give you a voice more than a traditional live stream would. So there is the feed. Things have not yet begun yet. Clearly, the judge has not entered the courtroom yet. The time is now 1:06. Still no courtroom audio that I'm hearing in my earpiece. And again, while we wait, any other comments that are coming in that I can spotlight? Let's see. These comments are coming in really fast. Everybody forgive me. Yeah, I see people that are voicing support saying that they like their live feeds without commentary. I'm the same way. Now there are certain cases that are so complex where having a legal analyst speak over them is really helpful. But no, the primary function of this room, the primary really goal of the Stream Center is to present you with the feed itself. And then we have coverage before and after. And also, too, if they take a courtroom break, which is to be expected today at some point, especially emotions are going to be running high. We're going to be hearing from Crystal Sori. We're going to be hearing from people that knew Harmony before she was murdered. And with emotions running so high, if this goes on for an extended time, we don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know how many people are going to be speaking. But if this does go on for hours, the judge is going to try to read the room, you would imagine, and find a time for a break. If there is a break, I'll pop back on and be able to, kind of interact with you guys and see what you think so far. It's about your voice, not mine. But the anticipation is that we are getting a sentence today. Back the blue. Will the impact statements be made before the verdict? And yes, just the answer to this is yes. impact statements are the all the witnesses that are going to be coming up and getting a chance. You have to remember there was a lot of testimony over the course of this case. And all this testimony that was read, all these questions and answers that were provided, that was part of the process here that Adam didn't hear, at least didn't hear. He wasn't present for it. So this is the time. This is when all of those people that were robbed of Harmony, robbed of Harmony's life, robbed of Harmony's future, they get to confront his convicted murderer, her father. Her convicted murderer, her father. So, impacts. This is an important part of the process. It can be difficult to listen to and to process, but you will hear those impact statements, and then afterwards, we will hear the judge determine a sentence. The sentencing memo that was released was a recommendation of 56 years in prison to life in prison. By the way, what's Adam Montgomery's age? I'm trying to remember. He's 34. 56 years in prison puts him to 90, which means that based on the sentencing recommendation that has been put forth by prosecutors, the earliest that Adam Montgomery could see, from outside of a prison is at the age of 90. I wonder if the judge is going to take that into consideration. But then at the same time, is there a possibility for parole? If parole is on the table, and I'm trying to figure out what the parole opportunities are with this particular case. If parole is on the table, then of course Montgomery can petition for an early release. You would imagine, though, with his criminal history, this was not his first rodeo in a criminal case, folks. So you would imagine that given his history and given the optics of being convicted of murdering your 5-year-old daughter and folding her body into a duffel bag and transporting it from place to place before dumping it and not telling anybody where you dumped it, you would imagine that parole is, you would hope it's a long shot given the particular factors in this case. See some camera movement here. No audio yet. Listening in with all of you guys for courtroom audio for when this is actually going to begin. You would imagine that it's tense in that room. There is an empty seat back there. There was a little bit of audio. The time is now 1:12 Eastern. Again, as a reminder, if there's a break, I'll be back here with you live from the Stream Center to break down what has transpired. And after the sentence is heard, we're going to reveal the results of our featured question on www.heyjb.live to see if the judge's sentence and the sentence that people felt was the proper outcome for justice for Harmony were in line. A lot of purple hearts in the comment section in support of Harmony and Harmony's family, Harmony's memory. This is why interactive work is my favorite. Others pointing out that Adam Montgomery already has a sentence of 32 and a half years in prison on the gun charges that I referenced earlier. So I was talking about him getting out at 90. Look, the chances of Adam Montgomery seeing the light of day as a free man, I don't even think it's even possible given where things stand presently in this case. So Adam Montgomery, perhaps that's part of the reason for his detachment and refusing to be part of this process and not being present at trial was because, did he just assume that his fate had already been decided, that he was going to stay in prison for the rest of his life? And that was that? Was that how he felt? Did he not want to face the truth as it was being presented as to what happened to his daughter and the accusations, the serious, heinous accusations that were put forth in this case? Or as we were talking about with Stephen Stearns on one of our previous live streams, one of the big theories as to why somebody accused or convicted of murder might not want to sit there in a courtroom and be part of their own defense. Perhaps part of the reason is to maintain any little shred of control that they have left over the process. In most situations, you have the power to make the choice as to whether or not to appear. And even though that's not a lot of power, it is just enough that somebody like a Adam Montgomery and Stephen Stearns would exercise that power, exercise that decision that they have to make. But in this case, the judge has stripped that away. Adam Montgomery has to be present. He is at the courthouse. We don't know if he's in the courtroom yet, but he has to be present for these impact statements, and he has to be present when the judge actually reads out the sentence after being convicted of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. Certainly a delay here, by the way, 15 minutes now past the hour. We've been told, of course, that this is going to be a 1 o'clock hearing. I'm looking here at some of your comments that are coming in. The comments that come into www.heyjb.live, they don't scroll on my screen. They stick on my screen. And some of the comments coming in there, those VIP comments, I can't even put on screen. Because people are offering up their own recommendations as to what should happen to Adam Montgomery. And they are there's some very strong language in there. There is considerable anger and hatred for this person on social media. It has to be stated. And is it surprising? 5-year-old girl who had a bathroom accident in your car, and she was beaten to death based on Kayla's testimony and based on what was put forth by prosecutors. Can you imagine that? And Harmony never got a shot. She never had a chance. And the few years that she did have, how much joy how much joy was there in her life in those years that she was actually here with us? This young girl was robbed of so much, and yeah, it's just it's not surprising at all to see the amount of hatred that is coming in. And I am used to seeing some really strong worded comments that I can't put on screen. I read thousands of comments a week in the stories that we cover, But I will point out that most of the comments are, now I don't want to say most, but a lot of them are, I mean, really strong towards Adam Montgomery. Most of the comments are love and support for Harmony and her family, and being kind, and wishing that Harmony did not endure so much pain and suffering, wishing that she had a real shot at life. But a lot of it is just pure hatred for Adam. Annie, hashtag HJB, I think he should get life. Again, the way that we can actually put all of this together at the end of this live stream is if you actually vote in our featured question, which is there on the bottom of your screen. And you can only do that by going to heyjb.live. And then we'll be able to actually look at the numbers, the percentages, the results themselves, and how it stacks up with what the judge ultimately decided should be the sentence in this case. Yeah, I want to know what's up for the delay is pretty significant. And there are people that have been waiting Hey, mods. I haven't found any particular reporters in the courtroom that are live tweeting, but it might be a moot point because we got some camera movement here. Let's go full screen. Let's bring this up from Tim Calorie on Twitter. Yes, it's Twitter. Still waiting for the hearing to start. Public is seated in the gallery. Harmony's mother and other family members are also seated. Attorneys, judge, and hashtag Adam Montgomery are not in the courtroom at this moment. Curious. Tim, reporter for WMUR. Is that the CBS station? ABC. The ABC station there in, is that out of Boston? I think it is. But that's Tim Calorie. We'll follow him. If there's any other reporters that are present at the courthouse that are in there, I'm just looking for some stuff, you guys. Yeah, no, it's been a long wait for this day. And so you have to, it's only natural to wonder, is there a reason for the holdup? Is there a reason that attorneys and the judge and Adam Montgomery aren't in the courtroom yet? Adam not being in there is not all that surprising, because Adam Montgomery being in there and everyone else seated there that is getting ready to read their impact statements, that just elevates the tension in the room significantly, and an extended delay and extended wait just makes it feel like unnecessary for everybody to have to sit there in silence all together. Not surprised that Adam isn't in the room just yet, but you know, the attorneys, well, see, and then there I am talking, and now we've likely got some folks filing in. Let's go full screen. Here is Adam Montgomery. No courtroom audio yet. Adam Montgomery not wearing a traditional prison or jail jumpsuit. He is in a white T-shirt. See him there with a beard and a tattoo on the left side of his neck. Flanked by his defense attorneys.
Please be seated. Counsel approach.
There was a look back at the back of the room by Adam Montgomery.
And 216-2022 CR2372. Counsel identify yourselves for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ben Agati for the state. Kristen Holmes for the state.
Caroline Smith with the public defender.
Last time I'm popping in here, folks, we will, of course, have coverage if there's any breaks or after, of course, the sentencing concludes. Again, welcome into the Stream Center. This is live from New Hampshire. We are now live across all platforms from the Stream Center. This is the sentencing of Adam Montgomery, the convicted murderer, convicted of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. This is the first time that he has been present in court since the first day of jury selection. Impact statements are expected to be read, and then, of course, the judge will reveal the sentence. 56 years to life is what was in the sentencing memo. We'll find out exactly what the judge determines to be the proper sentence, and then, of course, we will have coverage after the sentence is read aloud in the courtroom here from New Hampshire. So we'll stay here full screen. I will see you during the breaks, and I will see you, of course, after the event concludes here from New Hampshire. As a reminder, you can tell us what you think Justice for Harmony is by going to our website and choosing one of the options there with our featured question. And we'll, of course, look at this afterwards, after the post-sentencing section of our coverage. We're live here from the Stream Center from New Hampshire. For those of you just joining us, I was just asked to pop in and remind our audience the judge has asked the attorneys to approach. That is why the pool camera feed has muted their audio. We're getting in a zoomed-in look here at Adam Montgomery, really for the first time since the first day of jury selection. This is the sentencing phase of this trial. He has been convicted of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony, a story that we covered on live stream when she was originally reported missing, a story that went viral as a result of her being missing for 2 years before it was reported to police. We are expected to hear impact statements from Harmony's family, loved ones, and then at the conclusion of the impact statements, we're expected to get a sentence delivered from the judge in this case of somewhere between 56 years and life in prison. Still sorting through the what parole could look like. There's still a lot to be determined here, but of course we'll be live with you after the sentence is delivered. And what we will do, of course, we will then get your reaction interactively and try to feature as many of your comments as possible to see if you feel like we have justice for Harmony? We will ask you that question. Does it feel like we have justice for little Harmony Montgomery, a 5-year-old girl who was beaten and murdered for a bathroom accident in a vehicle, according to the testimony of Kayla Montgomery? So a lot more to happen here. This, again, getting a little bit of a late start, about 20 to 25 minutes behind schedule, and now an extended discussion here between attorneys on both sides and the judge. Looks like they are coming back, again, live during the breaks and live after the sentence.
Attorney Smith? Pardon? Okay, just making sure you're ready for the state to proceed.
Yes.
Okay. When you are ready, Attorney Gotti, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King and he beat her to death, and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people? How can the minimums ever apply when he conceded at trial the crimes that involve the horrors that he inflicted upon her body from December 7th on forward up and until March, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he's being convicted for today. The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed, for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019, and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life in the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor, if the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years. Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic murderer of his own child. Now, as I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just given an opportunity, we're asking you to impose nothing less than 45 to life for the sentence of homicide. You should impose more, but 45 is a bare minimum that this defendant deserves for what he did to Harmony. She is gone forever. She didn't get sick and get old and pass away. Something didn't just happen that night. He happened. She wasn't able to be surrounded by the people that loved her, and instead, when this court determines punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, it should consider that Harmony died in pain and in fear under a blanket, and nobody deserves that, especially a 5-year-old child. And that kind of death is different and weighs in favor of more than the minimum sentence here. You can, if there was a thief here, Your Honor, you could order the return of stolen property, or you could order restitution. When you sentence a defendant for an assault case, the victim can receive treatment and compensation for her injuries, but in a murder case, there's nothing directly that this court can do for Harmony. She's already ultimately paid the price of the defendant's anger and cruelty and frustration, but what can be done is recognize the value of her life and the terrible way she died by giving the defendant a significant prison sentence, something more than just the minimum, and certainly not the sentence that the defendant may ask you for in a few moments. You can make sure that he's not going to hurt another child. You can do that for Harmony. And in that process, you'll also be doing justice for the people who cared about Harmony, for the many people that worked hard to hold her killer accountable. Except most of those people, several of them, are in the courtroom today. Many more are out there. Some who are present here today would like a chance to address the court, Your Honor. Most notably, and I think has to be first and foremost, Your Honor, is Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sword. She's present here today. She has prepared a victim impact statement that we have written that we can provide to the court afterwards, but we would like her to be able to speak to you and present her thoughts.
Should we do so?
Thank you. To the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told. Like the cover story you told, that you dropped her off with me, knowing full well and good if you had, she would be thriving right now. Not beaten and stuffed in a CMC bag where you put her. She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me. Beautiful inside and out, funny, smart, sassy, loving, and most of all, kind. She wasn't a coward like you, and I'll be forever grateful for that. You're a coward who has to be in control of everything and everyone around you, insecure and paranoid. The list goes on. She is none of those things. She lit up a room when she walked in. She made a mark wherever she went, and you couldn't stand it. She was an incredible big sister. She loved her brother, Jameson, to her core, and I know she loved your sons too, no matter the picture you tried to paint of her. December 7th will forever be the darkest day of my life. The night you beat her to death, I woke up in the middle of the night in agonizing pain, from my head to my toes, and I felt like I was dying, not knowing, in the most brutal way, a part of me was dying. Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children, and you got high. 20 minutes that you could have used to save her life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, you're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me. And I will forever look for her until the end of my days. But I hope that every day and every night you're on this earth, you hear nothing but my baby's giggle. I doubt you ever heard it in this life. All she knew with you was misery and fear. I hope you hear her sweet voice telling you to stop hitting her over and over, or how she looked the very last time you saw her, broken and bruised. You were supposed to protect her, yet you did the opposite. Harmony wasn't anything to you but property that you could throw away when she was more of a burden to you than a meal ticket. Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs. My love for Harmony outweighs my hatred for you, but they both gave me the strength to listen to my instincts and to help the police put you away forever. Harmony will live on through me, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to stop it. I wish you nothing but pain and misery for the rest of your pathetic life, and with or without you, we will find my daughter. I always knew you weren't a good person, which is why I left you. I just never knew to what extent, but now I know you're just plain evil.
Your Honor, in addition, another member of Harmony's family was Miss Brittany Sorey, her aunt. She would also like to address the court.
To the most vile human on the planet, the day Harmony was born is the day that will forever feel like it was just yesterday. My sister was in labor and you were in prison. Always keeping you posted. I remember that phone call with you right after she was born and they were both in the recovery room. I was talking you down from how scared you were because you just wanted to be the best dad. And I believed in you and reminded you how good you were with my daughter, that you would be the best dad and not to worry. I couldn't even believe how wrong I actually was. You are a monster, Adam, not the monster who's in your nightmares or the ones that terrify you when you're little. You're the monster that pretends to be a daddy and then brutally abused, tortured, and beat your 5-year-old daughter to death for the accidents you caused by locking her in a room 24/7, traumatizing her, and making it blatantly clear that she could not trust, count on, or come to you when she needed someone. You didn't fight for her for 4 years like you had Kayla claim on your behalf. You lied, and you forged documents. You did it to have control again over something in my sister's life. You never for 1 second loved Harmony, because if you did, she'd still be here today. You wanted to control her, and when you couldn't, over and over again, because she reminded you of my sister, you took her from us because you didn't want anyone else to have her. More proof of the absolute coward you are. The fact that you sat in court at your gun trial, like my sister said, and tried to use Harmony for some sympathy by saying you cannot wait to refute the offensive claims that you killed your daughter and that you didn't and you loved her. Jury selection day, you showed up smiling at the jurors, proving exactly how evil you are. Then tell the judge the day of opening statements that you did all but kill her and expect a bunch of people to believe yet another lie from you. Because your egotistical ignorance makes you believe you are somehow smarter than anybody. You have the nerve to claim to be a victim of the disease of addiction and how it destroyed your life and all the crybaby stories you tell. The fact is this: you are a selfish, evil, conniving, poor excuse for a human being, and I hope you sit in prison every day while she haunts you day and night until it's unbearable, because that's what you deserve. I used to call you my brother. We used to talk about everything. I've seen you break down and cry and open your heart up to me. Even when you first got Harmony, I messaged you and I told you that I would help in any way if I can, if you needed it for Harmony and wanted to be a part of her life. And just like anyone else that reached out, you blocked me. You had so many chances to change the result and let her go with people that loved her, but you didn't, because you knew she would have told all about the abuse, so you killed her. If you're any type of man at all, Adam, or you ever loved her for 1 second, you would tell us where she is, so at least she can rest in peace after everything you put her mind, body, and soul through. Regardless, karma will get even, because you don't destroy such a beautiful soul the way you did and not reap what you sow. So may it be.
One of the other individuals in this particular event who is not present here in the courtroom today, but is the victim of the crime, that is the victim of the crime of witness tampering, is Ms. Kayla Montgomery. She has prepared a statement. We have submitted there. We will be submitting that to the court as well. It has been provided to the defense counsel. She has asked a victim advocate to please read the statement for her.
If the victim advocate could please state her name for the record, and also the Kayla Montgomery's statement.
Certainly.
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them. I will never forget the birth of our first son we have. That was one of the many best days of my life. We had just gotten married and started a family of our own. I'll never forget when your grandmother said to me, "You're the best thing that has ever happened to my grandson." I'll always remember the births of all the children we have. Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony. You worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited. Then, during the summer, was when we both started to go downhill because of relapse. After 5 years of sobriety, that was the beginning of the chaos. By the time Thanksgiving came around in the year 2019, we were losing everything. My job, our place to live, and after living in a car for a few weeks, we lost that. At the same time, Harmony dies because of your anger and hitting her so many times. We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony. Then you came and picked me up when my shift was done at 2 p.m. She wasn't in the car, she was with her mother. During those years of having to keep quiet, you started physically and mentally abusing me, accusing me of cheating on you, telling on you, and trying to kill you. The first time that you really hurt me was when you accused me of cheating and had me on the living room floor against the corner of the wall telling me if I didn't tell you that I cheated on you that you were going to F me up. When I never cheated on you and said that I didn't, you punched me right in the face a couple of times because you said I was lying, and I wasn't. So then I said, yes, I cheated on you so you wouldn't hit me, but you still did anyway. You started getting crazy when we would get high on crack. I told you I did things that I really didn't do because you said if I told you that I did whatever you'd accuse me of, that you wouldn't hit me, and I was dumb enough to believe you. No matter what I said or did, you would hit me, punch me, spit in my face, or would have me in a chokehold and cover my mouth so I couldn't scream. You were not the person I married, not the person who loved me and who never hurt me. It's like I married my father. I never would have thought I would have to run away from you until I knew I had to take our kids and leave you. I'll never forget that day either. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. The last couple of nights after you got arrested the first time, I was sleeping with a knife because I did not know what you were going to do to me. After I found out that you got arrested, I went back to our apartment to grab a few things, and then I made the decision of not going back to live there anymore. I couldn't stay in the apartment after a year of chaos with you in there. Just all bad memories, barely any good ones. We had about 5 months total that year of living there that were good times. Other than that, nothing but bad memories. I'm so angry and hurt by you. I know you probably hate me because I had to do the right thing, but also because of all the bad, not only did you lose your rights to our children, but so did I. Now I'm going to have to keep fighting for them to at least be back in their lives. You seem to forget you cheated, not me, and you just left the kids and I for some girl, packed your stuff, and left to another state. I called you out on your BS when you were on your way to Maine, and I also called you out for being with someone else months before you left to Maine. You accused me, but you were the one cheating. The day you got arrested on January 2022, you called me and said to tell Kelsey you're sorry about her car. Yeah, right. That's all you're worried about, not your wife and children you may never see again. No apology for cheating on me and making me think I was crazy. So I gotta do all I can to get back on track with my life. You caused so much hurt and pain. I don't even know why I still care about you and actually feel bad for you. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not a cold, heartless person and still have some care about you. I was in love with you once. Now I still love you because you're the father of our children. This is goodbye for now. Maybe I'll see you at the future in some point. Goodbye, Adam. And then she lists the day they started their relationship was October 8th, 2015. And the day they married was Harmony's birthday, June 4th, 2017.
Your Honor, one family member who I've heard from yet is with regards to a very young man. This is Harmony's younger brother, Jameson. He lived with Harmony up until the age of 1, saw her as late as 18 months in his life. Both of his parents are here, Mr. Blair Miller and also Mr. Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and they have a statement they would like to present.
Your Honor, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here today. Good afternoon to you. My name is Blair Miller, and my husband Jonathan and I are here today on behalf of our son Jameson, who we adopted in 2019. He is a 7-year-old boy who came to us from foster care. Jameson and his sister Harmony were in and out of different foster homes together. They seem to be on a path of surviving their troubling relationships, their circumstances together. To understand the true impact that this loss has had on Jameson and will continue to impact him, you need to hear the stories he tells us and wants you to know. He wants everyone to know. When we first adopted Jameson, he would always tell us about Harmony. He would tell us about her beautiful blonde hair. He would tell us about her glasses. He still does. He would tell us about her bright blue eyes. He would tell us about her wonderful smile that lit up a room. He would tell us that she was there to help him Jameson has constantly asked us, where's Harmony? Recently, he once was struggling to go to bed. He looked off into the shadows of his closet and said, is that Harmony there, looking back at me? These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H. He said that was Harmony looking down on us. Jameson constantly asks us, who took my sister away? Adam, you took away his best friend, his sister. You introduced murder into his life and forever created a void that can never be filled. We will never have the right answers for him on this and can only tell him Harmony is an angel now. Jameson will grow up forever wondering how this happened, how his sister, who looked over him in foster care, didn't have anyone looking over her. You chose, Adam, to take our little boy's sister away. You don't ever deserve another choice in a free society. Your Honor, we are asking you to impose the maximum sentence.
Your Honor, this courtroom, and especially Adam, I'm Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and I'm the proud adopted dad of Jameson Miller, the proud young brother of Harmony. Harmony is the reason that we're all here today. Harmony, the child Adam that you murdered, you introduced a nightmare into our son. You introduced evil of this world to him. You have manipulated the criminal justice system until now, and trying to explain that to our 7-year-old son is hard. Before Jameson knew of Harmony's tragic fate, he would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, maybe she's found me. He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, are you Harmony? I'll never forget the day that we told Jameson that Harmony was in heaven. He's a very active kid, and that day he just stopped and he held us and he said, no, I need my big sister. Why? Why did this happen? These are questions that Jameson has had and continues to ask. Daddy and Dada, what happened to my sister? Why did she die? Why would anyone hurt her? How about her glasses? Were they okay? My God, how will we ever help him process this horrible and brutal details of his big sister? Adam, you have to know you did that. As we celebrated Jameson's birthday in 2019 with the Mickey and Minnie Mouse theme, we had Mickey Mouse there. It's a Disney theme that he shares with his big sister and his mom. He wanted to save a gift from her that day, made from his Nana. It was a Minnie Mouse pillow, but instead, you were beating her to death. That was the same day. If Jameson was old enough to speak to this court today, he would want you to know the void that you left in his heart that can never be filled. Adam, he would plead with you to please tell us where she is. Let him have a place to go and remember his sister, please. He remembers her feeding him. He remembers when they would be at his foster home when she was there, that they would play in the park together. He remembers her glasses. He remembers how proud she was. How do we tell our 7-year-old that you murdered his sister, his protector, his best friend, and you showed no remorse? I wish they could be happy together today. Jameson asked, is she unhappy in heaven? If she can see him, and if we can visit her, why would anyone hurt her? That's what you've done to her son when you beat his sister to death. In her family, we really believe in love and forgiveness. I'm just not sure how to teach her son how to forgive the monster that murdered his sister. We as a family are leaning on God for that. Jameson also knows about the helpers. He knows about this court. He knows about the jury. He knows about the police from the local to federal. He knows about this community. We've told him these were the people that helped his sister when she was hurting. I'd like to share with you a few words that Jameson, as we were talking to him, because he wanted to know, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I said, we're going to speak for your sister, and we're going to tell everyone how important she was to you. And this is what he said. Tell everyone my name is Jameson. I'm 7 years old. My sister's Harmony. I love Harmony. I miss her. I hope I get to see her again. My sister had beautiful blue eyes, and we smile alike. I liked having fun with her on the playground. She gave me a broken Elmo toy that was hers. I still have that. But I have the Minnie Mouse pillow and a new Elmo that's not broken. I keep it in my closet for her. I'm really sad she's an angel. I miss her. She was my best friend. I hope she can see me playing basketball, being silly with my brothers. And I wish I could bring Harmony to my school to meet my friends and my teacher. She loves the color purple and Minnie Mouse. I made a heart for her in purple and red with mirrors so I can look for her in heaven. I hope she sees me. The red is for my heart and the purple is for her. I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven. I hope her glasses are safe and not broken. And I miss you, and I will always love you, big sister. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, finally, with us today is Harmony's foster mother, Michelle Rafferty. Harmony was alive for 66 months in this world, and for 44 of those months, she was with the Raffertys, Michelle and her husband, Tim. They've both prepared a statement as well and would like to speak with you today.
Your Honor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. This is truly the hardest thing I have ever had to do. My name is Michelle Raftery, and along with my husband and my 5 children, we have the privilege of being Harmony's foster family. We shared our hearts, our home, and our life with her, and she filled our lives with joy and laughter. We lost a daughter, and my children lost their sister. We grieve for her every day because we thought we'd always see her again. Harmony was full of life and always happy. We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. Harmony always had 2 mummies, me and Crystal, but only had one daddy, and that was my husband, Tim. I am beyond grateful Harmony had the relationship with a loving daddy and knew what that relationship should look like. She loved being a sister and had an amazing bond with our youngest daughter, and when our second daughter had her baby, she was delighted to be an auntie. Harmony was a friend to everyone, but she also had a best friend named Dominic. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle. She had a large community that she loved, and they loved her. She was kind and compassionate and always willing to share, even her Oreo cookies and favorite doll stroller. Since everything came to light, I have had trouble sleeping and concentrating. We had to explain to our children things that we never wanted them to hear and explain to them why a father who was supposed to love and protect her was being arrested for murder. Your Honor, I'm asking you to give Adam the fullest sentence. Adam is hateful and selfish and continues to be so by not telling us where her body is. Adam knew he could have brought Harmony back to us. He had options, but always chose himself each time. He never put Harmony first. There were consequences for his actions, and he will have to live with them the rest of his life. Our family is strong and beginning to heal by the grace of God. We know Harmony is safe in the arms of Jesus, never to be hurt again. So despite the evil brought to light in this trial, we will continue to move forward in love because love wins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, in addition to those statements, the state is asking you to consider not only all of the details and the facts that you heard during trial, and not only, as you would for any defendant, their criminal history, of which is laid out there and which this court is already well aware of, but we are also asking the court to take into account 2 additional charges which are still pending. Firearm that was belonging and was owned by a Mr. Ewell, and also a high-point handgun. These are 2 charged but not yet adjudicated offenses that can be considered by the court when it comes to sentencing. We did not ask you to take the defendant's murder of his daughter into account at the last sentencing for the other firearms, given that it had occurred before her death. But these 2 not yet tried armed career criminal charges, offenses for weapons, belonging to Mr. Ewell, and the high-point handgun should be considered to show that the minimum does not apply to this man. The court is already aware of the defendant's statements to many other people, many other people through many different facets of his life, with regards to being asked where his daughter was and for him to lie to them. This was subject to many different interpretations. The court has discussed this on different different times, in different hearings. With regards to those events, and with regards also to the gun crimes that I speak of, Mr. Ewell's firearm and the high-point handgun, we feel that the state has already shown the requisite level of certainty that the defendant has been present from the Manchester Police Department, who can provide additional information if the court so chooses to hear that. So at this point, I would leave it up to the court's discretion if and when the court should be considering those 2 charges as part of coming up with the appropriate sentence for the defendant today. But he is here in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. I don't feel that I need to hear from him at this juncture. If the court feels it necessary to hear from him, I will do so later. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, one of the things that you saw during trial were the many different ways in which the defendant tried to conceal his crime, not just physically, but also with false statements and lies to others. Lies as to where she was, as to what had occurred, where it had occurred in the car, where he was at the time. Even lies, as you heard from some witnesses, as to whether or not he loved or cared for Harmony in the first place. You heard and saw the defendant try to sell his lies to anybody that would listen. And why does that matter? Because it's one thing to deny the charges that the state then, and hold the state accountable to bring forth proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's another one to actively lie and deceive and blame others. And a defendant who does that, like this defendant did, is different and is deserving of more than the minimum punishment. You've even heard yourself how the defendant tried over and over again to get Kayla Montgomery to lie for him. The testimony we heard at trial included the verbal threats to her, beating her, photographs that we saw of her black eyes, testimony from other independent witnesses of him either hurting her or her running away, being injured, or grabbing a cell phone out of her hands and manipulating her even months later to get rid of telephones that had evidence of the crimes on them. You've seen those bruises, you've heard those stories from independent eyewitnesses. That was not just an attack on her, that was an attack on our system of justice. And to hold him accountable for that independently, consecutively, to the actual underlying crime of the homicide and the second-degree assault from before. As you've seen in this case, if we don't do that, if we don't hold people accountable for those actions afterwards, then the criminal justice system is failing because it allows defendants everywhere under the concept of general deterrence to think that they can tamper with witnesses and destroy evidence. And if they're caught, well, it'll just be subsumed by the underlying crime. That's another reason why the more than the minimum sentence is necessary. And finally, I'm not going to go into full detail on it, Your Honor, but you've seen in the state sentencing memorandum, there are 3 cases that are on point and when looking for comparison here, and those are State versus Caitlin Marin, State versus Mark Heath, and State versus Chad Evans, all cited in our sentencing memorandum. in those matters involved individuals who were convicted of reckless second-degree murder for injuring children. And all three of those individuals, either immediately after trial or at sentence review, all had sentences that were in their 40s. And all three of those people didn't have the criminal history that this defendant has. And all three of them didn't do afterwards to their victims and what they did to their bodies, what he did to Harmony. So in the state's mind, how can the defendant here get anything less for that? His behavior is worse. When we look at that, if and when he should ask for sentence review after today, if they look at that, we don't feel that there's any way that they could equate that his behavior was less than theirs, or that his punishment should be less than theirs. There's nothing about this little girl's death, or her suffering, or what her father did afterwards that can ever be classified as minimal. He is still determined, 5 years later, that she have no peace, no justice, no rest. So the state is asking you to do what justice requires, and that's nothing less than the state's recommended sentence. Harmony deserves it, her family deserves it, the people of the state deserve it, and definitely this defendant deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'd like to start reading from State versus Willie at 163 New Hampshire 532. We held that just as it is unconstitutional to increase a defendant's punishment because he refuses to admit guilt, so too is it unconstitutional for a court to draw an adverse inference of lack of remorse from a defendant's silence at sentencing. Because the only affirmative way for a defendant who maintains his innocence through the criminal process to express remorse at sentencing is to forgo his right to remain silent. Using a defendant's silence at sentencing to infer that he lacks remorse generally violates the defendant's constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. The state said that their offer to reduce or offer a reduced sentence of 35 years if Adam Montgomery took particular action within the next 7 days, and his reaction to that reflected heartless, immoral, no remorse. You can imagine, anybody can, that somebody walking into a sentencing hearing for something where he maintains his innocence that he did not do would be a difficult situation. That person would be assisted by his counsel, who would understand that being vilified for something that you didn't do would be difficult, who would understand that when people are trying to throw him away forever for something that you didn't do would be difficult, and that he would be schooled in reactions and how to react and how to appropriately respond within this courtroom. The state was doing a stunt. They were seeking a reaction today from Adam Montgomery in the courtroom by their stunt for something that they said, give us 7 days, and then Mr. Montgomery, acting appropriate with his counsel's representation, was called heartless, immoral, and no remorse. Mr. Montgomery does not have to express remorse here for something where he maintains his innocence. It would violate his constitutional rights against self-incrimination. And talk a little bit about the use of priors, as argued in the state's memorandum, to elevate what is a sentence as a mandatory minimum that is extraordinarily high, and it is high because anytime a child dies, an innocent child dies, deserves a strong punishment. And the legislature has spoken with a mandatory minimum of that punishment. The lack of rehabilitation is what the priors are put on for. I don't think anybody can predict what another person would be like after 35 years of incarceration. To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction, that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family members, wives, who participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation, especially after what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence. The use of the remaining charges also are inappropriate here. You did not consider the charge of homicide at his prior sentencing on the armed career criminal charges that he faced May a year ago. But you did consider the armed career criminal charges, or at least you didn't indicate that you didn't, and the state certainly argued that they should be considered as well. All of that conduct occurred in a relatively short time period, and while we dispute the probable cause, even the law says that you can consider the grand jury indictment as probable cause, which I think is completely inappropriate, but that is the law. However, his sentences on armed career criminal took into account both his prior and his subsequent gun charges. He's serving a sentence currently of what comes to be about 32, because he got 15 as a minimum on one, 15 as a minimum on another. The 5 years of the 7-year minimum on the final charge that you sentenced him on, you suspended 2 years. Didn't even totally give him the max on that, but certainly increased his sentence in your evaluation of his prior conduct, as well as the pending gun charges. Another issue I need to address, and I'm afraid we only addressed part of it in chambers, my fault. The names of the no contact order I don't have, so we don't have a position on that as far as the names. However, since the state has asked for an incarcerated sentence on each of the charges, I don't believe a no contact order can be issued on the charges under interpretation of current law. However, I will say that the names will be provided to Adam, and I can assure this court that Adam will not seek any contact with the Sorrell family. Family. So, what do you do for sentencing Adam Montgomery? Adam Montgomery does not dispute the time sought by the state for abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. The state has requested maximum sentences on that, consecutive, and Adam does understand that it affected the investigation and that behavior affects justice in the court system. And he does not dispute the sentences requested by the state on that. However, while he maintains his innocence, he also knows that you will be sentencing him on the other charges because he has been convicted. and any other action he takes will have to be after sentencing. So as to the other charges, while he maintains his innocence on each of them, he can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them, but he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum and especially his silence here at sentencing as being an appropriate position to take when he is asserting his innocence. We request that the court issue a sentence that is less than what the state has asked and that it make the remaining charges concurrent with abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke, and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions. But eventually he pulled it together, and he was able to say goodbye to his daughter, and that's what he did. If I may have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Actually, my co-counsel has reminded me of something, and again, this was something that was not in the sentencing memorandum, and it was last minute, and it is the stunt that was pulled by the state, and it is that plea offers, responses, negotiations are inadmissible, and I think that they are inadmissible for any purpose, including sentencing. Certainly, I know in other cases, if I was to say the state offered something pretrial and now they're seeking twice that, the state would shut me down under that rule, which 410? 410. So I think that entire stunt should be stricken from the record as well.
Briefly, Your Honor, I made no such comment about plea offers that were made prior to trial in any way, shape, or form. When I called the defendant heartless, immoral, selfish, and unapologetic, and in doing so, it's about the two crimes that he has admitted that he has done. It's the falsifying physical evidence, and it's the abuse of corpse, which he admitted and even told the jury that they could find him guilty of. Those are the ones relating to the placement of the body. There's no reason to hold on to that piece of information with regards to that. The statement is not offering anything because this completely lies within the hands of the court. The statement is to make the change of what the state's recommendation would be. It's not an offer of a guaranteed sentence in any way, shape, or form. And again, it's on those charges, the one where he does not maintain his innocence anymore, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. I think just separately, Your Honor, with regards to the victims that the state is asking for the no contact order, that would include Crystal Sorey and her family, S-O-R-E-Y. That would also include the Miller family, Your Honor, and that would be Harmony's brother's family, and as well as the Rafferty family. I can provide those spellings to the court monitor afterwards. I think those are the only additional things that the state wants to add.
Attorney Gotti, what do you say to the State v. Toll issue that's raised by the defense about the no contact order on stand committed sentences, where all of the sentences that you're asking for in this case are stand committed, but you're also asking for the no contact provision?
Your Honor, I think with regards to that, rather than to prolong this particular hearing, the state would then also ask for a $5,000 fine on each felony for that to be suspended for the period so that the no contact order can be obeyed during that time period. And if he violates the no contact order, then that could be imposed.
Suspended for what period?
I would say suspended for a period of, well, on the 2 Class B misdemeanors, I would say suspended for at least a period of 7 years upon the beginning of that serving of that sentence, and for the charge of second-degree murder, I would say beginning on for a 20-year time period, beginning when he starts serving that sentence.
Do you want to address that, Attorney Smith? I'm just thinking about that for a moment. I mean, Attorney Agati, on that, the consequence of a violation of the order would be the imposition of the fine.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
For clarity in sentencing, I think 5,000 is illegal for any one of those charges, although certainly combinations of certain charges can equal that amount. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because as I said, with regard to the family, Crystal Sori and her family, Mr. Montgomery will not be reaching out to any of them.
All right, thank you. Counsel, approach for just a minute.
As counsel approaches, JB here with you live in the Stream Center, folks. Again, a reminder, after the sentence is given and after court is adjourned, a ton to break down here, a lot of twists and turns as we are taking a live look here at Adam Montgomery. Again, we have the attorneys on both sides approaching the bench here for a brief recess for the courtroom audio as a result of this discussion that is currently ongoing. The defense, let's start with really quickly an offer being put on the table, hoping to get the location of Harmony's remains from Adam Montgomery, really the one thing that he has left to offer Harmony Montgomery's family and friends. As we understand it, the offer itself for a lesser sentence, for fewer years in prison, in exchange for Harmony's location, went unanswered. And so, as a result, Adam Montgomery, at this stage in the sentencing hearing, will not be giving the location of Harmony's remains. And the defense instead responded by calling that final offer a stunt done to get some kind of a reaction out of Adam. Live after.
All right, nothing further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to take a 15-minute recess so I can consider all of the information and statements that have been provided, and then I'll come back and announce my sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
A lot of twists and turns, and now 15 minutes to break down exactly what we have learned in the last hour plus. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks. JB here with you live across all platforms. We are 15 minutes away from the sentencing portion of today's court proceeding, a sentence that could range anywhere from 45 years in prison to life in prison. We are asking in our featured question on this live stream, which outcome of the 4 that we have below, which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? And you can vote, of course, right now by going over to www.heyjb.live. That's where we're going to gather all of these votes across all of the different social media platforms. And, of course, at that time, when the sentence is delivered and we have our post-sentence coverage here, we'll be able to reveal the results and see how everything lined up. So the outcomes below: 45 to 56 years in prison, life in prison. Perhaps you feel that, sadly, there is no outcome here that is justice, that amounts to justice for Harmony Montgomery and her family. Or if you think that there's something else that another outcome that you feel is justice for Harmony, you can comment again on our website. Let's go down everything. Let's go through everything that we have learned here. I think it has to be stated that the most important part of what has transpired since about roughly 1:30 Eastern, really the last hour or so, are just how impactful these victim impact statements were. Hearing from Crystal Sorey calling Adam, finally getting the chance to call Adam a monster. I want to bring up also as well a tweet from inside the courtroom. It was a tweet from Tim Callery, who stated, and I want to bring it up here and make sure that I am attributing properly. And here it is. Tim says, throughout these victim impact statements, Adam Montgomery has been looking forward or looking down. And this is important because of the position of the pool camera itself, we couldn't see Adam while we were watching these victim impact statements being read. If it was a multicam setup, we would probably have the ability to see, different camera angles within the courtroom. We just had the one singular pool camera in the back of the courtroom, and the line of sight, we were blocked from seeing Adam. I think it's up to you at home as to whether or not that means anything to you. Would you want to see Adam's reaction as these statements are being read? But Tim providing a very important tweet here saying that he didn't turn around. He didn't offer any kind of a reaction, just been looking forward or looking down when all of these victim impact statements were being read. So we have the one from Crystal Sorey. That was the first one from Harmony's mother. And I saw just an outpouring of support in our comment section, people supporting Crystal, who has had a very difficult time over the course of when Harmony was alive, and of course, when she was missing, and then when it was revealed that she was, in fact, deceased. Things have been extremely difficult for Crystal Sorey, and there was a lot of outpouring of support in our comment section for her. After we heard from Crystal Sorey read an impact statement, we had a goodbye letter from Kayla Montgomery. This invoked another major reaction in our comment section. I was watching the comment section go. Tell you the truth, the comment section went wild when a letter from Kayla was allowed to be read, but Kayla making it very clear that this was a goodbye letter, that she was the victim of Adam's abuse for an extended period over the course of their marriage, that she suffered significantly as a result of being in a relationship with Adam. And she was, of course, taking the position as being a victim in this story as well. That, of course, the way that letter was read incited quite the reaction from you in our comment section, because, as a reminder, Kayla was in a position to you could make the argument that Kayla was in a position to help Harmony, including on the night that she was beaten to death. Again, 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery having a bathroom accident in the vehicle, being abused, and then really being beaten to death as a result of just a 5-year-old girl having a bathroom accident. Kayla, who has stated that she is a victim over the course of this, the social media reaction to this goodbye letter was not very positive, at least in our comment section. And I think that has to be stated. Again, this is all about giving you a voice, and we will be going to your comments here momentarily. After Kayla Montgomery, we had the two fathers of her brother Jameson being the child of Adam and Kayla. And hearing the words of Harmony's younger brother, even though he wasn't there and present in the courtroom to read it himself, hearing it through his adopted parents, his two dads, was certainly impactful. And my goodness, I think it really rang true with our audience here. It's certainly hearing the words of a young child and how he has to live the rest of his life knowing what happened to his big sister, a big sister that he will never get to, experience life with. It's just been, that certainly pulled at heartstrings, including my own. And then, of course, we had Harmony Montgomery's foster mom offer a statement, at which time, after the victim impact statements were read, there was more from the prosecution. The defense then offered that Adam Montgomery maintains his innocence, that he acknowledges the charges of abuse of a corpse and what he did in the aftermath of Harmony's death, but that he maintains his innocence in Harmony Montgomery's murder, despite the fact that he has been convicted by a jury of his peers. And the defense says that this final offer for Harmony's location was a stunt meant to get a reaction out of him of some kind, offering him 7 days to disclose the location of Harmony's remains. This is something that we're going to be getting into really in the after the sentence is read. We have another featured question where we are asking you, do you agree with this final Hail Mary offer, if you will, to try to get Harmony's remains? You could make the argument that the odds of finding Harmony, the only hope for finding Harmony rests with her dad, with her convicted murderer, Adam Montgomery. Do you agree, though, with lessening a sentence in exchange for finally finding her? And I took a peek at some of the early poll results as they were coming in. I haven't seen them really since the opening minutes, but that is a conversation that we will get more in depth with after the sentence is read. There are people that absolutely were willing to do anything to get Harmony's, anything within reason to get Harmony's remains returned and for a proper burial and a proper send-off, a proper goodbye for her family and loved ones. But and then there were others who felt that a lessened sentence should not have been put on the table. So we'll get into this more and we'll read some of your comments, but that's enough of me with basically a breakdown of what has transpired. Let's get to your comments. As a reminder, you can go to www.heyjb.live to submit a VIP comment. That's the easiest way to connect with us directly in the Stream Center, or you can use hashtag HeyJB on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live. And we're going to start with the VIP comments. Sandy says, no justice for Harmony until he tells us where she is. So Sandy is of the opinion that the only way that we get justice for Harmony is if we find Harmony. I'd be curious how Crystal Sorey feels about that after today. Justice, ultimately, the truest the truest way to answer the question as to whether or not it's going to be justice today for Harmony is really, I think, lies with Crystal and those who were closest to Harmony when she was alive and provided her with the small amount of joy that she did have when she was with us. So that's an interesting standpoint. Let's go to some others that are coming in, and they're scrolling in really quickly, folks, so please just bear with me. Taylor, only if the compromise was that he would spend life in prison versus the death penalty. As a reminder, the death penalty this is not a capital case. Death penalty is not on the table here. So Taylor saying that the only way that they would compromise, the only way that a deal would make sense is if it was downgrading from the death penalty to life in prison. But that's a hypothetical that, that it was never really on the table, Taylor, in this case. Let's go to YouTube. Let's go to Stefan, hashtag HeyJB in the YouTube comment section. I'm definitely against so many chances for Adam to admit or to state where the remains are. He showed no remorse, so no deal. Stefan already getting into the conversation that we're going to have a little bit later on, but believes that at this stage, if a location of Harmony's remains isn't going to be put on the table, if it wasn't going to be put on the table over the course of this entire process, it wasn't going to happen today. So as a result, no deal. Barb Olson, hashtag HeyJB. Wouldn't Kayla know where Harmony is? Kayla is not believed to know the location of Harmony's remains. Harmony's remains were transported from place to place to place, and we noted this earlier. Hidden in the trunk of a car, first put into a folded into a duffel bag. This is the remains now of your 5-year-old daughter. folded into a duffel bag, hidden in the trunk of a car, placed into then a cooler, put into then a ceiling vent, and then a workplace freezer before he himself, Adam, finally disposed of it. I think it should be stated, and we'll talk about this more after the sentence is read, Kayla Montgomery is expected to be a free woman this month. I've been following reports with her case. I haven't streamed anything with her specifically, but I've been following the reports, and Kayla Montgomery will be a free woman at some point this month. She was granted parole on March 7th. Is that correct? The first week of March, she was granted parole. She was sentenced originally for lying about where Harmony was when she was last seen. So I believe it was perjury charges. And so she has been granted parole, and she's been ordered to complete mandatory prison programs related to substance abuse treatment and have an approved home plan. And she will be under what is described as intense supervision for at least the first few months of being let out on parole. So it was interesting that Kayla wrote this goodbye letter. But clearly Kayla Montgomery, and there's a lot of opinion about Kayla. And again, a lot of our social media commenters, a lot of folks in our chat point to not what she did, but what she didn't do in protecting Harmony, and that she was in a position to help this young girl and didn't. And then also to lying. I mean, you're in prison for lying over the course of the investigation, so you're doubling down. Now, there's the what's been put forth is the idea that Kayla was very much a victim over the course of this process, suffered and was the victim of abuse as a result of Adam's actions over the course of this entire ordeal. But really, it was just failure after failure and that resulted in Harmony's death. That ultimately is the most important thing to keep in mind over the course of this. And so, we'll talk more about it. As a reminder, the poll on the bottom of your screen, we are asking which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? That hashtag is used so much on social media, but what does that hashtag mean to you? What is justice for Harmony? We ask it in so many other cases. What previously justice for Gabby Petito, justice for Madeline Soto. What does justice look like when we have such an evil occurrence in front of us and such a terribly tragic story? I'm really curious as to what people think is the appropriate outcome here. And so we'll be getting into the discussion after the sentence is read, but it helps us if you actually, submit your answer on our featured question by going to, one more time, www.heyjb.live, where you can actually submit your response to this. It looks just like this over here, over my shoulder, when you pull it up on your phone. And also, too, we do have a large international audience. People that have been joining us from Europe. I think we had some folks in Australia. Where's everybody watching from? Maybe it's a good time to check in on where everybody's watching from, because this is clearly an international story. Harmony has reached people around the world. And so with that, if you want your voice to be heard, you can submit a comment. You can actually vote in our featured question, and you can do so by going to world.heyjb.live. Also, really quickly, because this is something that people have been asking for in the Stream Center for a long time. I'm sorry if it's off topic. Please just allow me 30 seconds, because this is something that I got a memo into my inbox last week saying that people in Europe can actually access WFLA.com now. And I don't have too many friends in Europe. I would really appreciate for our Europe audience, people that are watching from across the pond, UK, anywhere in Europe, try to go to www.heyjb.live. Try to go to WFLA.com. Can can you actually see us again for the first time in years? There was a block put in for security purposes, and apparently we are back in Europe. And that's extremely, or potentially extremely exciting because we have such a large audience that watches this from Europe. And so I didn't want to spend too much time talking about that. Obviously, we have the subject matter at hand in this 15-minute break, but please let us know if you're joining us from Germany, the UK, France. That's music to our ears if that's the case, because that has been a thorn in the side of so many for such a long time. People that wanted to read our content, read updates, and be able to vote in our content as well. So, yeah, please let us know if that works. All right, folks, 15 minutes is about up. I think we're about 60 seconds away from that 15-minute break being done. I have Courtroom audio up full blast, and we'll, of course, pay attention to the pool camera feed. Adam Montgomery, by the way, was hard to see, but he is in shackles. He is wearing handcuffs, despite the fact he's not wearing the traditional prison jumpsuit. So, again, he has been ordered to be here. He was not present for his trial. He was not present for the verdict being read by when the jury, of course, ultimately reached their verdict in this case. And so he's been ordered to be here today. He's listening to these victim impact statements. He has listened to Crystal. He has listened to Jamison's fathers. He has listened to Harmony's foster mom, and even the letter that was read by Kayla, which I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting the Kayla's letter to be read, but that was read, and that really, it's interesting. The reaction to Crystal was just love and support in our comment. There were purple hearts, just it was like a waterfall of purple hearts in our comment section. The reaction to the reaction to Kayla and that letter being read was I think a mixture of confusion and frustration. And maybe that's me putting it lightly. The reaction to Jamison's fathers, his two adopted parents, reading words on behalf of Jamison, that again being Harmony's younger brother, that was just tear jerking, and I just saw emotions running high. People were saying that they were just in tears, crying hysterically over hearing those words and grabbing for tissues, and then similar with Harmony's foster mother, just feeling like you want to give the biggest hug in the world and trying to do so by voicing your support in the comment section. So the victim impact statements are over. The judge is reviewing every argument that has been made up until this point, and really now it's up to the judge in this case to offer a sentence. This is our last call for our featured question. And maybe we'll try to get to 500 votes if we can. We're up to 458 there. And we're asking you, this is about spotlighting your opinion. Which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? And you might be of the opinion that there is no justice for Harmony. I think it was it Sandy earlier who said that there is no justice until we find her. I hadn't really thought about it that way. But you could make the argument that yeah, if you want the truest form of justice is for Harmony is to find Harmony. And I thought that was an interesting take. As we wait, it'll be any moment, folks. Again, as a reminder, I will be muting my microphone. We'll be going full screen. Any moment, we'll be back with the sentence live from New Hampshire. Oh, we got some Facebook folks that are joining us. Barry, thank you. That's a very kind Facebook comment. I appreciate that. So Amy says death penalty for anyone who murders. So obviously with this poll, Amy voted and then submitted a comment, and this is an other selection from Amy. It's very clear to me. Voting that it should be the death penalty. Death penalty for anyone who murders their child or any child. As a reminder, not a capital case. And I believe that New Hampshire outlawed the death penalty, right? Didn't they? Yeah, 2019, they abolished capital punishment. So, yeah, Darmy, I see your VIP comment. That is a comment. I'll try to. Darmy, I'm going to try to paraphrase your comment. I'd like to give people a voice. Your comment I can't put on screen due to it not being in line with policy with how we put comments on screen. But I'll just kind of paraphrase. Darmy and a lot of our other commenters just don't want an easy life for Adam Montgomery in prison. You can read between the lines of what I'm trying to say with that comment, but there are a lot of people that hope that Adam Montgomery, as a result of what he has been convicted of, doesn't have a smooth process as far as being incarcerated. Everyone kind of get where I'm going with that paraphrase job. Let's see. Julia says, protect the public. Life in prison, no parole. I'll be very, very much curious as to if there's I don't think that there's going to be the opportunity for parole. I think the sentence is going to be the sentence. We've eclipsed 500 votes, by the way. We are going to reveal the results of this question, this featured question, right after the sentence is read. We'll do it right in our post-hearing coverage here on stream as we spotlight your reaction, spotlight your opinions. And then also, too, we have another featured question that we are asking as to how you feel about the deal that was offered to Adam Montgomery. Looks like we might be back, folks. Again, our coverage continues after the sentence is read.
The crimes that you have committed and the harm that you have caused cannot be overstated. You took a human life, and you did so in the most callous and heartless of ways. You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother. You were convicted of reckless second-degree murder. Reckless in this context does not mean something that was an accident. It is defined under law as something that manifests the extreme indifference to a human life. Your extreme indifference to the value of human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case. In 2019, you beat Harmony. In the words of your uncle, her eye was fully black and blue like a raccoon eye, is what he said. Your words, when asked, were, quote, I bashed her around the effing house. And then you hid her from the view of others, and you kept her from those that came to help her. On the date that you murdered her, you didn't hit her once. You punched her in the head repeatedly. You beat her in the car while at stoplights, more than one time. You knew that she was severely injured, yet you covered her with a blanket and didn't check on her until after you took her lifeless body from the car. And then, after her death, you treated her body like it was trash, worse than trash. You did unimaginable things to her body, and all in an effort to save yourself from being discovered as her murderer. And then, on top of that, you threatened, abused, and beat your wife to keep her silent. Your criminal history similarly reflects your extreme indifference to the value of human life. Your actions having taken both a physical and emotional toll on so many. In 2008, you were convicted of criminal threatening after pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl. In 2010, you were convicted of armed robbery and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in a home invasion incident in which it was reported that you held up a woman at gunpoint, terrorizing her to the point that she lost control of her bodily functions. In 2009, you were convicted of first-degree assault for stabbing another person. In 2014, you were convicted of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and larceny in a case in which it was reported that you shot a man in the face. In 2019, you were convicted of 2 counts of armed career criminal, 2 counts of theft, and 2 counts of receiving stolen property, all of the charges stemming from the thefts of firearms, guns, exchanges of guns for drugs and money. The court has to consider 3 primary goals of sentencing: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. The focus today is on your convictions in this case: second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and second-degree assault. But the prior convictions are important, and they're important as well as each of them reflects not just your extensive criminal conduct, but each of them represents an opportunity after sentencing for you to have changed the trajectory of your life, to change how you were treating other people. But you were either unwilling or unable to do so. And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others. In light of the egregious nature of the crimes of which you have been convicted in this case, and taking into consideration your extremely violent criminal history, the court finds the only way to do this is to keep you off the streets. To the extent you seek to rehabilitate yourself, that will have to happen behind the prison walls. Harmony was an innocent 5-year-old girl. You treated her in the worst of possible ways, in both her life and in her death. Therefore, the court sentences you as follows. On charge ID 2027112C, the charge of second-degree murder, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. That sentence is stand committed. That sentence is consecutive. All of these sentences, I should say now, are consecutive to each other, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving. Additionally, you're to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation, parole. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of this sentence. This is also consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20. That is charge ID 1937947C. Do you have any questions about that sentence?
Nope.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence, on this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges that I'm about to read you, as well as consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You do have the obligation, as with the other sentences, to meaningfully participate in programming as directed by the correctional authority or probation, parole. You're ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of that sentence. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. Again, this sentence is consecutive to the additional sentences that I've read to you that I'm reading to you in this case, as well as docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You have the same obligations for participation in programming, and law enforcement may return evidence to its rightful owner. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. And on this charge, you will also have the provision of a no contact order and that is no contact with the Sorey family, the Miller family, and the Rafferty family. That sentence is also consecutive, were it to be imposed to all of the other sentences in this case and the sentence you're currently serving. On the second-degree assault charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years. This sentence is consecutive to the sentences in docket 216-2022 CR 2372. This is charge ID 1937947C. On this charge, you have the additional requirement, as you have in the other cases, to meaningfully participate in programming. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner, and you're obligated to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. Do you have any question about those sentences?
No, I do not.
All right, before you go, counsel approach, please.
No, I do not. The response from Adam Montgomery in relation to any questions regarding the sentence that was just handed down by the judge, 45 years to life, plus consecutive prison sentences for the other charges in this case, also to be served consecutively with the previous assault charges. Adam Montgomery going to jail, going to prison for a long time.
Are imposed in light of the extended period of incarceration. The court will also make the finding that you do not have an ability to pay your attorney's fees, so there will not be an obligation for those in these matters. The clerk will now address you regarding sentence review.
You are hereby notified that you have the right to apply for review of the state prison sentence imposed on you on May 9th, 2024. The application may be filed within 30 days after the date of the sentence, but not thereafter except for good cause shown. If you file such an application, your sentence will be reviewed by a board of 3 members who will be either judicial referees and/or superior court judges. Review of the sentence may result in a decrease or increase of the minimum or maximum term within the limits fixed by law, or there may be no change in the sentence. A form for making application, if you wish to do so, is set forth below. Mr. Montgomery, this applies for both cases 216-2022 CR 20 and 216-2022 CR 2372. I'll leave those with you, Judge.
Do you want to sign in now? Yeah.
Anything further for the state?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Breaking news from the Stream Center. Here's JB Biunno.
Live from the courtroom in New Hampshire, Adam Montgomery sentenced to 45 years to life in prison on the murder charge, the murder of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery, after he was offered a final deal to reveal the location of his daughter's remains, an offer that Adam refused to answer, resulting in the sentence that we have this afternoon. Hello there to you folks. The feed going black. I'll pay close attention to that feed. If we get anything back, I would be shocked if the feed ends here. We'll be paying very close attention to those coordinates for any follow-up press conferences. What usually happens after a court proceeding like this is that the media will rush outside the courtroom, get a makeshift podium together. If not, they might already have something together outside, where, of course, we get interviews from the people that have been closest to this story. So it's in black right now, but a feed could pop up at any moment. And in the meantime, I'm just going to have some video show you Harmony Montgomery because, of course, this is who we're talking about, the 5-year-old girl whose life was taken way too soon and really who endured so much pain and suffering as a result of being the child of Adam Montgomery, the convicted murderer in this case, who will be serving likely, more than likely, the rest of his life in prison. Because of course, of the other charges that are connected to this case, the assault charges, the tampering charge, all of this, when you pool it all together, you have a number of years that Adam being 34 years old, the opportunity for parole, we'll have to do some math. You have to forgive us because there's a lot of math to be done. But I don't know if he's eligible for parole at a time in his life where he's expected to be alive, to tell you the truth. So I have to piece all of the years and all of the sentences together and get an exact year count as to what age he would have to be to even qualify for parole. And I'm sure the reporters in New Hampshire, the reporters in New England are doing some serious math right now on their calculator to figure that out. But we're going to update years to life. We're going to update the bottom of your screen to make this more appropriate because the actual murder charge, there it is. Adam Montgomery given 45 years to life in Harmony's murder. We have a lot to get to here, a lot to break down, a lot of your reaction, but I haven't even looked at the comment section because I've been so busy with the other screens here in the Stream Center. What's everybody thinking? They did not go, it's 45 years to life. So it is the opportunity, if it was just the murder charge alone, you're talking about Adam being given the opportunity to get out at some point around the age of 80. But it's 45 years to life, so it's not a life in prison sentence. It's that has the potential to be life in prison, and it will likely be life in prison when you add up all of the sentences together. But I'm just curious as to how people feel about the judge, the sentence, how it was read, the reaction by Adam saying, no, I do not, in response to whether or not he had any questions. We're going to get into all of your questions and comments. And because we have such a large audience, we're going to exclusively focus our comments for now on www.heyjb.live. And that's where, of course, we are also going to look at the results, the final results of our featured question. Which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony Montgomery? Let's get to that right away. I promised I would. And let's review the results here on the bottom of your screen. We had 500. You know what? I'll give everybody just one last 30 seconds to vote on this. We asked, which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? 45 to 56 years in prison, life in prison. Sadly, there is no justice or other. I want to give everybody the opportunity to one more time vote in this. As everybody hops over to heyjb.live, our website, to get in their final vote, we do have, as I noted, the press conference area that is outside of the courtroom. I don't know if it's in the courthouse or in an adjacent building, but this is where, of course, we expect, I would imagine Crystal Sorey is going to come up and give her reaction to the sentence. I would imagine we'll hear from others, maybe Jameson's fathers. Nothing in relation to Kayla here because Kayla is not represented. She was only represented in the letter. Perhaps Harmony's foster mom might speak as well. We will undoubtedly hear from the attorneys, likely on both sides. Maybe the defense sits this one out. Our commenters, by the way, were calling her Elaine. That was, I think her name was Caroline Smith. I believe that's her name. I have to triple check, but I don't know if that was a mix up there or just a nickname, but and she had a really tough job to do, obviously, given the circumstances with this case. Look, somebody has to represent Adam Montgomery. It is a difficult job given the optics of the case, given the evidence presented, given the testimony, given how cute of a face that we're looking at here every time we see Harmony Montgomery, and you think to yourself, how could somebody do something so sinister to such a young, innocent, beautiful, vibrant young girl? But somebody had to defend Adam Montgomery, and she was the defender assigned to the case. You also heard that Adam Montgomery does not have, obviously, the money to pay for his attorney fees. So as we wait for the press conference to begin here,
1, 2,
and we get some mic checks.
4,
Oh,
5,
by the way,
7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm muting this for a second. This is mic check. A half apology. When the courtroom audio came back and it was crazy loud, that was not from the stream center. That was on the pool camera feed end. So everyone's eardrums being blown out are profound apologies. That was on their end. Somebody maybe put the fader up too much or turned the dial way too far because the audio was completely blown out at the beginning of this sentence. Again, as a reminder, that was not on our end. Let's get to the results of our featured question. Which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? And we'll close this poll. Oh, wait. Can I? No, I want to. Oh, wait, hold on, everybody. It's bouncing back and forth between the results. Oh, okay, here we go. Show. Okay, so which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? 75% of our audience thought life in prison. Only 2% wanted the actual, outcome to be 45 to 56 years in prison. This is kind of tricky to navigate because, of course, he likely will be in prison for the rest of his life. The opportunity for parole, we'll have to do some math again, but it's way off into the future. I mean, way past the age of 80. Way past. I think he'd have to be 100-something years old. If everything, I want to make sure I have it right before I definitively state, but I believe he has to be past 100 to even qualify for getting out of prison. 11% of you said that they don't believe that there is justice for Harmony given the atrocities that she has suffered. And then another 11% said other. And we got a lot of comments related to other, and I think that those comments were mostly focused on wishing that the death penalty applied in this case. It does not apply in this case, not a capital case. New Hampshire, of course, abolishing the death penalty, and this wasn't a capital case, so it just wasn't on the table for the judge to consider. So 75% of our audience felt that life in prison should have been the outcome, and it kind of is. It might not have been, on the murder charge specifically, but the judge in this case gets a likely life in prison outcome as a result of all the consecutive charges or consecutive convictions and their sentences, their subsequent sentences, all adding up into what amounts to him spending the rest of his life in prison. Them being consecutive is obviously extremely important because they stack, and he what was 30-something years on the gun-related charge. He's got a lot of sentences. He's collecting them at this point, collecting different sentences for different crimes that he has committed in his life, including most recently and most importantly and most just disgustingly the murder of his 5-year-old daughter. Goody says, rest in peace, Harmony. Rest in peace, Harmony. Yeah, hearing the words of Jameson, her brother, her younger brother, being read aloud with the Elmo doll, emotional, truly emotional. Some other comments that we have in our Bees72 on HeyJB.live. Even though he claims innocence, still no remorse for the loss of his daughter. There was clearly no remorse. There was smirking that went on over the course of today's court proceeding. Adam didn't speak other than saying no and no, I do not. He did not, as we understand it, did not respond to the offer of a lesser sentence in exchange for the location of Harmony's remains, which we are going to be getting into. I would like to hopefully get to all of the press availability that's going to be occurring with the attorneys and with likely Crystal and others here here shortly, and then I would like to, hopefully get into the conversation about how people feel about a deal being a final last minute Hail Mary deal being offered to Adam Montgomery, saying, look, we will, in essence, we will cut 10 years off of this prison sentence. We will remove 10 years. Just tell us where she is. And, it was the defense making the argument that shouldn't have even been allowed to begin with. They called it a stunt. I would have been utterly fascinating if Adam had a change of heart upon hearing about a lesser sentence. But if Adam has 2 brain cells in there, he knows that you add up all of these consecutive prison sentences. If you shave 10 years off, it doesn't change the fact that you are likely still spending the rest of your life in prison. So he probably realized that, the rest of his life, or a majority of his life going forward, he's going to spend in a correctional facility, and disclosing that information, it's the one bargaining chip that he has left. He's not going to give it up for something that, to him probably has no value. It doesn't change his future. He's probably going to be in prison for the rest of his life based on the way that things stack up. So yeah, no remorse. There was clearly no remorse. If anybody thought that they saw remorse from Adam Montgomery today, you're more than welcome to submit a comment and tell me I'm wrong. But I'm just calling balls and strikes here. Looking at him over the course of this entire hearing, and I could go into an entire spiel about how I feel about pool camera feeds. I am grateful that we had the opportunity for Zoom in. People that follow me and follow me in relation to, whoa, our camera feed just changed. That's not what we want. Oh, that's unfortunate. They just swapped feeds on me. Yeah, we might need to alert Kevin. Our hub switched feeds on us. I'm hoping that we get it back up shortly. Not sure why they did that. They probably thought it was over. Thank you. All right, so our team's working on getting that feedback. In fact, we might have it here in a moment. In the meantime, as we wait for the feed to be restored, again, which outcome do you feel is justice for Harmony? 75% say life in prison. But I want to move on now to the next question that we have, and you can vote on our website. Oh, well, see that? That is an ongoing poll. So that's the early results of our poll. But let's go back to this. Do you agree? Do you agree with prosecutors offering a deal in exchange for the location of Harmony? Okay, so yes or no. We had some early results in there, but we'll get into this more over the course of the next half hour or so. But yeah, this is an interesting question. This last minute final Hail Mary deal, do you feel it was right for prosecutors? We already had one commenter say that they didn't feel it was the right thing to do, to make an offer, to make a plea deal to a convicted murderer, a career criminal, somebody who did something just unimaginably awful to his 5-year-old daughter, to make him any offer whatsoever. You could make the argument it just shouldn't have been on the table. But, I mean, how badly do you want Crystal and her family and friends and Harmony's foster mother and Jameson and Jameson's parents, his adopted parents. How badly for them do you want them to have closure? Is it worth taking 10 years off when in reality he's not getting out of prison anyway? I don't know. I don't know. Harmony, rest in peace. Her life was cut too short. Her life, as short as it was filled with pain and misery and suffering and at the hands of somebody that was supposed to care for you, and you were just violently abused. It's tragic. It's terrible. But hopefully today provides some comfort, some closure to those who have to live with the fact that Harmony is no longer with us for the rest of their lives. We are working on getting that feedback. Get to some other comments. In the meantime, as we wait for the feed to be restored. Tracy says that the deal only should have been offered only for Harmony to be brought home. So, what's interesting is that 7 days was put on the table. Wonder if, what if, it's just not. Oh, here we go. We got the press conference. Let's listen in.
Blair, what is that in your left hand there, though?
Jameson's mom, Crystal, gave this to us today to give to Jameson. And it has a picture of Harmony on the other side of it, which is very important to Jameson. It's very important to us. It's very important to our son that he knows Harmony's story, and he knows his story with her as well, and that doesn't get lost. Sadly, we have too many of these things that remind us of the tragedy and not the celebrations that should still exist. And so it's so sweet, but it's also so tragic.
Today's not a celebration for us. It's just, I think we want to get home and hug our 3 boys and tell them how much we love them and how lucky we are to be their dads.
I also want to say one other thing. If you look back over there, you see officers of the Manchester Police Department. And I can't imagine what it's been like for them to deal with the realities of this. And we are so thankful for the law enforcement, the first responders, the people who kept this in the public eye, the people who've listened, the people who've been searching. Just inside, people were telling us about the searches they're still doing. And that matters, and we are thankful. We know our son that will be the bright spot for him when he turns 15, 20, 25, goes down a rabbit hole of what's happened in his life. The bright spot in this will be those who've been out there fighting for Harmony and fighting for him.
You and I have a really hard time processing these details. They're stomaching to hear the gruesome things Adam did to his own daughter, our son's sister, Harmony. But as what Jameson will never forget is every helper, every police officer, whether that's at the local level or the federal level, that
It's for every person in this community that shared her story. It's for everyone that fought and continue to fight to bring her home. And we hope one day that she's found. So he has a place. Crystal, their mom, has a place to go and remember her. They should have that right.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Chief. Good afternoon. My name is Ben Agati. My last name is spelled A-G-A-T-I. I'm a Senior Assistant Attorney General here for the state of New Hampshire, currently Chief of the Homicide Unit. With me is Christopher Knowles, Knowles, an Assistant Attorney General also assigned to this matter, and of course, Chief Aldenberg of the Manchester Police Department, who has been here since the beginning. I imagine just briefly, there's a couple of things I can say today, actually. Most of the time I can't tell you folks much. But today, obviously, it's after sentencing. So as you heard upstairs, the court did provide a sentence, and the sentence being essentially, when you add them together from the consecutive nature of how they were imposed, being 56 years to life sentence. These 56 years is consecutive to those that he has already been sentenced to in the other docket matter from last year of armed career criminals offenses, as well as theft by unauthorized taking, and that was an aggregate of 32.5 to 67 years. So in aggregate here, and I've been asked just a moment ago, I do not have the exact calculation, but certainly based upon the defendant's age at this point, I believe that he would hit his minimum parole date on these at around either 115 or 118 years old. But they are two consecutive sentences. That being said, today is truly about Harmony, I would say, and I think you've heard that from all of the different victims' family members from here and from afar who were able to come forward and provide their statement to the court. The presentation that the state made obviously was trying to make sure the court found a good balance between punishment, deterrent, and rehabilitation. She certainly agreed with what the state's recommendation was, and that is what she has imposed. Again, I think what was also tremendous that you may have seen today is the men and women of the Manchester Police Department who were here, and all of our federal partners, state partners out there who could not be with us, some who were and some who couldn't be here, who helped make this basically possible by going and finding the evidence and presenting that evidence in front of the jury. At that point, I'm very happy to take any questions at any time, if anyone might have one. Go ahead, sir.
At the start of it, you obviously made that offer to Adam to tell you guys where.
Yes, I did not discuss any sort of plea offers that may or may not have been made outside of the courtroom. That was a recommendation. And as you may have heard me say to the judge, it's completely in the judge's control what the sentence would be. But the state was willing to change its recommendation from what it presented to the court if he was going to provide us with where she was. He admitted in his closing statements and through even his opening statements that the jury could find him guilty of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse, directly, which are on point dealing with where Harmony is, wherever she is right now. So with regards to that, I don't know that the argument that somehow maintaining his innocence works when that's what he articulated to the court about those two charges. We were very much hoping that he would share those details. He seems determined to keep those details to himself.
Did you have hope, though, that he might take you up today on that?
I did, certainly. And I think everybody who has been trying to find her had that exact same hope.
Mr. Agati,
Yes.
Are there any avenues for you to continue to try to get that information at this point?
At this point, I think it's up to the defendant, whether the defendant ever chooses to reveal that information to anyone or not. That is his choice. That doesn't mean that the search will stop or that the Manchester Police Department and their partners are going to follow up on leads that come in. But right now, we were really hoping that he would be able to share that information and be willing to do that. He chose not to. That's his right. But that's what he did today.
Is there any update on the search right now? Where it's at right now?
I can tell you, I believe, was it, Chief, about 2 weeks ago was the last time that Manchester went out for another search that was done in a different area, similar to the same locations that we've talked about before. Unfortunately, they were not fruitful at the time.
And I thought the judge gave him a suspended sentence on one of the things.
Wouldn't that make it 55 years?
No, it would still be 56 because the way that the state's presentation that we originally proposed to the court, it's written in the sentencing memorandum, that 12 months on the abuse of corpse charge was the only one that was going to be served concurrent, so at the same time as the falsified physical evidence charge. The court instead made it to be consecutive but suspended. So it's a consecutive suspended 12 months that's hanging over his head for him to maintain and for the next 20 years have no contact with those families.
So it's the same result.
Practically, it's the same result, yes, with the addition of the no contact order. That's also something that the Department of Corrections may choose to put on him as part of a condition, but that's up to the Department of Corrections to do. So, were there any other questions that I could answer for anyone?
I'd love to talk to the chief.
Certainly, I'm happy to let the
Chief, we first heard about this story from you 2.5 years ago, this case. It's been a really long road for you. How are you feeling today?
Nobody wins, right? I mean, it's a bittersweet day. You know, the team back in the room, I'm looking at them all now. I said this last time I stood up here. Jack, Max, Lieutenant, Captain Layton, Captain LaRochelle, Billy Tuss from the United States Marshal Service, who's been with this case from the get-go, Scott Riley. I don't want to leave anybody out, but yeah, it's a horrible, horrible case. You know, Mr. Montgomery had a chance today to, again, I've said this before, you know, yet another opportunity to do one decent, good thing in his life. And again, he passed that up. So we'll keep working it. We'll keep working hard to do our part to locate Harmony and bring her home. So I'm grateful to the two attorneys sitting off to my right here who have been here from the get-go, and Jesse O'Neill as well, who was with us from day one. These are, I said it before, these are extremely talented people that work for the state of New Hampshire, the Attorney General's office. I don't think the state realizes how fortunate they are to have people like this that sacrifice many things in their personal life, their own time, after hours, weekends, nights, just like my team does. But so, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you to the team at the back. I'm thankful to the media who's kept this story alive and in the news and kept Harmony's face out there. I think that's critically important. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah, it's not a fun day for Manchester PD. It's not a, you know, we're not going to go back and, you know, be all smiles. We're grateful to the judge, Judge Messer, for hearing us, and for the jury for sitting through what they had to sit through for that period of time. So I'm thankful for the process and grateful to be where we're at. It's been a long road.
Chief, do you think the system has changed at all? Could there be another Harmony Montgomery out there now or in the future?
That's not for me to, you know, Manchester PD can do our part to make sure that doesn't happen. What happens beyond that in the partnerships that we have with other agencies that interact with children, we're working, you know, to keep those relationships positive. And my hope is that this never happens again. And I don't, you know, nobody wants that works in this field, that works in the field with children. Nobody sets out for that to happen. So we'll continue to take steps to make sure that this does not happen again in the state of New Hampshire or anywhere else.
You're all set with the chief, and if you're all set with us, we're going to thank you for your time, and I believe that hopefully there may be some other family members here who are willing to talk with you. I don't know, but thank you very much.
Ben, could you quickly address the appeals process for Montgomery?
The appeals process?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you get one?
Yes, he certainly has a right to appeal the convictions that he's had here today. He has the right to sentence review, so he may seek that as well. Typically, sentence review is not done until after the appeals are over with. That's typical of how the court will act. But that process will begin. That usually takes anywhere from 24 to 36 months to complete.
Are you aware of him filing or planning to file a new appeal?
I have not had a matter that's gone to trial where a person has not filed an appeal afterwards, so I would imagine that he will certainly file an appeal.
If he discloses information about the whereabouts of properties, could that factor into the appellate process?
Likely no. The appellate process is really designed to ensure that the law was followed by the court as the trial went forward. That's what that's designed to address. So if he were to share that information later on, that would be something else that we'd have to address separately.
One more quick question.
Yeah.
There are 2 other weapons trials on the docket for this man.
That's correct. We have a status conference that's scheduled in a couple of weeks.
You will go forward with those?
At this point in time, we certainly want to review all of the acts that are going on today. You heard us mention those, that they are still outstanding. And that is certainly something that we'll take a look at and decide what's going to be happening going forward, but I'm not able to give any concrete answer on that status conference.
It was enough to prepare for today and get today off the ground. That's another day to prepare for. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Waiting for anyone else. I have seen reports that Crystal Sorey, the mother of Harmony Montgomery, did interviews outside the courthouse, which means that she might have left already and walked right past this area without doing an interview in this area. So I don't know if Crystal's still there or not. We might not hear from her here. I know that she has done some out. Yeah, I think that's what the photographer there is making that face as if to say, is that it? We'll find out if that's it. But it certainly sounds like they are beginning to wrap up here. On that last note, by the way, the 2 additional charges that he faced, I think that they're gun charges. He's already going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. It seems somewhat redundant to have correct me if I'm wrong, it feels a little redundant to have another trial or another case be heard when, look, there's a lot that could happen. It's important, I think, for the legal process to play out appropriately, but should they, I think that we're losing the feed now for good. Should they do a whole nother trial for those subsequent gun charges? You heard the attorney say that they were still doing the calculations. I felt a little bit better about the job that I'm doing here on stream. When the attorney, the actual prosecutor, says that he doesn't know how many years have all piled up. It's a lot of math to do because it's a lot of years from a lot of different sentences, all adding up. That basically amounts to Adam Montgomery being in prison for the rest of his life. And the attorney said that I think the earliest that he could get out is 115 years old. I'm not a betting man, but I'd put a nice chunk of change on Adam Montgomery not making it to the age of 115 years old, which basically amounts to that Adam Montgomery will be in prison for the rest of his life, barring some unforeseen, massive, cataclysmic 180 out of nowhere. So that brings us to this next question, which we will use to end out the live stream. I say that, but I actually, before we get to that question, I just want to get more reaction from if you're still on the live stream, this is a story that matters a lot to you, and your voice deserves to be heard. So I just want to go to the comment section and just give everybody an opportunity here to offer their reaction to the sentence that was delivered. You can use hashtag HeyJB on YouTube. And I'm sorry I repeat this all the time, but it's because our audience will come and go. So people will be here for a bit and then they'll leave for a bit. Look, hashtag HeyJB on YouTube if you want your comment to be featured. Or you can have a VIP comment submitted by going to www.heyjb.live. Hold on. I'm just seeing a lot of purple hearts. That's really cool to see. Norbit says, hashtag HeyJB, that would be a very safe bet, but good luck being around to collect your winnings. Yeah, no, that's, I don't think I ever would, nor would I ever make that bet because it's just not an appropriate bet to make. But I'm basically making the point by saying that, in that Adam Montgomery is going to be in prison for the rest of his life, the way that things have stacked up against him. Sid says, remember AM's trial for weapons. We learned a lot of important information. There were multiple people who provided their money, IDs, time to get him the U-Haul that he used when he left her somewhere. I think that they still have more info. Is there any chance, to Sid and others, is there any chance that trial gets us closer to finding Harmony? Probably not. You heard there the Manchester chief of police say that they are still searching for Harmony, and that search will will continue. And look, this might be one of those cases where 10 years from now, when technology has advanced, forensics have advanced, that 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, we have that. Is Netflix going to be around in 30 years? I don't know. But would there be that documentary that's produced where a pair of forensic investigators use modern technology and go into a cold case like Harmony Montgomery's to find out, it's not a cold case in the traditional sense. It's a case in that where they haven't found her remains and use modern techniques to find her. We hear all the time in Florida, especially. We hear all the time about how cases are reopened decades down the line because of modern techniques, updated technology, updated forensics that are give investigators more tools to track down the answers to some of the lingering cases that have persisted on through the years. I could very easily see the Harmony Montgomery case being one of those cases where years from now we look at it with fresh eyes, and maybe there are. Also, too, it should be stated, is there any chance that time gnaws away at Adam Montgomery in prison, and as he gets older, does he have does he find religion? Does he find something that provides him with the reasoning to finally divulge Harmony's final resting place? I'm being glass half full. I get that. We're talking about somebody who was committed and convicted of committing just heinous atrocities against a young girl. I get that, but I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can that we can find Harmony at some point, whether it's through modern forensics, future forensics, or maybe Adam realizing through something as powerful as religion and spiritual insight that he would provide the answer that the world so desperately seeks. Michelle says the world is watching. Greetings from South Africa. Hello to those in South Africa. I like the Purple Hearts there. I love seeing it. Anytime that you can give support for people that have been through such tragedy, it can go a long way. Melaneni. Hashtag AJB. I am so happy he will never be out. Let's bring up our poll question. Yeah, he'll never be out, but there was the option on the table for fewer years in exchange for the location of Harmony. This incited a reaction in our comment section. Rightfully so. He wasn't here today to be offered a deal. He was in that courtroom to find out his sentence. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, my goodness, out of nowhere, out of left field, here is this fourth quarter, 1 second on the clock, Hail Mary toss to try to get through to find out, does Adam Montgomery have any shred of a conscience left? Does he have a heart? Or something resembling a heart, or something resembling some goodwill for his daughter or those around him? Is there any chance to break through a barrier by offering a meaningless, you could make the argument, meaningless 10 years off of the sentence in exchange for the location of Harmony's remains? The real question might be, and maybe we follow up with this, we'll reveal the results of this soon. You can go to heyjb.live to vote on this. Would you have done a flat 50 years in exchange for the location of Harmony? I think that that's probably the more, it's not a realistic question because a flat 50 years would never be on the table with all of the sentences that are being stacked up. But 50 years gets him to 84 years old. He'd be a free man at 84, probably under intense supervision even at that age. But he would, if he lives that long, to 84, he'd be able to be a free man. And whatever days or years that he had left at that point, he would be able to have those years as a free man. and then exchange for, I know that that's a hypothetical, but is it the question that gets to a better conversation? I'm almost thinking about it if I was out talking with reporter colleagues of mine, and we were out off the clock and having this conversation. The prosecutors offering a deal and shaving 10 years off of a deal when he would get out around 115 years old. Now he would get out around 105. If you're Adam Montgomery, you're thinking, wait, okay, so I have to live to be approximately 105 years old to get out based on this deal? That's a terrible deal. I'm not an idiot. No deal. But is there a deal where he had the hope of getting out way into his elder years, way into his senior years, that he would have come around on? If we said, Adam, you're out on your 85th birthday. You're a free man on your 85th birthday. Just tell us where, pending positive confirmation of Harmony's remains, if you tell us. Would he have done it? Never would be offered. It's not on the table. It's never going to be on the table in any case in the future, like in that capacity, when you have so many consecutive sentences together. But is it worth it for Crystal there? Is it worth it for Jameson and his dads? Is it worth it for Harmony's foster mother to have that closure in exchange for, you could make the argument, okay, he has to spend 50 years under this hypothetical. He would spend 50 years in prison. And you don't know if he's going to make it to 85 years old. You just don't know. I don't know. That's kind of like the off the clock question that would probably come up, is what would it really have taken for Adam to come around? He's never going to be a free man anytime soon. But the distant hope of being a free man later on in life, would you do it? Is it worth it? Duty Ron, hey man, hope you're well. Sending you love from New York. Duty Ron, go check out his channel. I think he had a live stream too. Hope you're well, brother. He says, #KJB, the better conversation would be, why was Adam Montgomery free with the rap sheet that he had? Judge Messer read it out in the court before his sentence. Yeah, no, I'd have to look into that. Maybe that's something you and I can chat about, Ron, because I don't want to speak on that until I know more of the particulars. Michelle, I can't. Yeah, I can't really. That's a comment I can't put up on screen. Doesn't have any bad words in it. I just can't because of what it means. Let's really quickly. Let's go to the results of this poll. And see what we've got. Well, you know what? No, I always should give everybody one last opportunity to vote. Do you agree with prosecutors offering a deal in exchange for the location of Harmony? The deal was approximately 10 years off the floor of the sentence, which would have been, so it would have been like 35 years to life instead of 45 years to life. We have 108 votes. See if we can get to, I don't know, a few more. Do you agree with the idea of a deal being offered today in exchange for the location of Harmony? Everybody, a last opportunity to vote. And then I'm going to get the next question ready. I'm going to type in the next question because I'm really curious now. And I'm staying on stream till 4 o'clock, so we have got some time. I'm going to put it, let's see here. I'm going to put this in big capital letters, extreme hypothetical. Extreme hypothetical. Would you have offered Adam 50 years flat for Harmony's location. Does it fit? Yes, with 3 characters to spare. Yes or no? I'm just curious. By nature, as a reporter, I am a curious person. And so as a result of that curiosity, we are going to put this comment in the queue, or this question in the queue next. And in the meantime, let's go to the results of this poll. Do you agree with prosecutors offering a deal in exchange for the location of Harmony? 83% say yes. 17% say no. And again, we did have a comment earlier saying no. A deal for a monster should never be on the table. I don't care what the payoff is. No, shouldn't offer him a deal. The offer shouldn't be on the table. But 83% yes. And I would imagine that a lot of the logic behind the 83% is as follows. You're shaving 10 years off of what is going to be life in prison anyway. Not going to make it to 105 years old. More than likely. So very interesting there. Let's get to the next one now. And I put up here extreme hypothetical. Big capital letters. Because I think it's necessary. Would you have offered Adam 50 years flat for Harmony's location? If you are the prosecutor and you have the ability to offer him a deal of 50 years flat. You can see we have the results coming in live here. We'll keep these live results on screen. Again, vote now on heyjb.live. Oh, look, they're bouncing back. This is interesting. 50 years flat for Harmony's location. Let's discuss the pros and the cons. All right, the pros of this. You get Harmony's remains found. You have a proper burial. You have a proper send-off. You have a proper funeral. You have closure for Crystal, closure for the adopted and foster parents. You have closure for those who have been in tremendous pain these last few years over what had happened to Harmony. And you get to give them the closure of being able to say farewell and I love you. The cons of this is that you are giving the man who has been convicted of being an absolute monster the opportunity of getting out in his mid 80s. Now in your 80s, I have shout out to my Uncle Harvey. My Uncle Harvey's in his 90s and still plays golf. He's at tennis too. I think it's actually more tennis these days. He's an avid tennis player, active, in great shape, and I think he would smile and tell you living some of his best years even into his 90s. There's the potential for you to enjoy your life past the age of 85 and really have a great time. Now, you would imagine that Adam Montgomery at the age of 85 would come out broke and penniless and wouldn't have the opportunity to play, my Uncle Harvey lives a really nice life. He has, nice car, plays tennis, has friends. I don't know what I'm making a very, 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 bizarre comparison here, a bizarre connection here as I'm trying to explain this. But the point I'm trying to make is that Adam Montgomery likely wouldn't live a very good life past the age of 85, even though you would have the potential to, that there are people in this world that do have some of their best years in their 80s or even their 90s. So do you give Adam the distant chance, even though he, in all likelihood, the odds of him making it to 85 are probably somewhat slim, given, that he'd be in a correctional facility for 50 plus years. Do you give him the slimmest of hopes, the distant chance of getting out and being a free man and giving him the free days that Harmony never had? These are the conversations the hypotheticals that sometimes happen off camera, where we'll talk about, look, if Adam didn't entertain a deal for shaving 10 years off of, an already, massive prison sentence, would this have done the trick? Is there anything that he would have done to given up Harmony's location? We don't know. We're talking about a man who was convicted of atrocities beyond anyone's imagination. So, I don't know. And I understand that I could be painted as being insensitive for even posing this question. I understand that. I am just trying so desperately to give, I think we were so touched by some of the victim impact statements. Yes, I am a reporter, but I have a heart. And when you hear some of the words coming out of that courtroom as to what Harmony meant to so many people, you want so badly to give them comfort. And how far are you willing to go to give them comfort is really the essence of this question that I'm asking. We'll try to get to 50 or so votes, and then we'll just close the poll. But the results are live, so a majority says yes. That's interesting. That 3/4 of our remaining audience would have given 50 years for murdering a 5-year-old girl, in addition to the other charges of tampering evidence and so on and so forth. 50 years is light as a feather. But how far would you have been willing to go to give comfort and closure for Harmony's family? Let's go to some of the comments, and then we're going to wrap up the live stream. This is a quick run through of some of the comments. #HeyJB in the comment section, or you can go to heyjb.live and submit a VIP comment over there. Moonspark, #HeyJB, yes, but if I knew the sentence would run consecutively with the sentence he's serving now. No, that's not the question, Moonspark. The question is 50 years flat. 50 years flat starting today. So in the year May 9th, 2074, Adam, you'd be a free man. May 9th, 2074, you're a free man. That's the hypothetical. So I think what you're saying is no. But Moonspark, comment back at me now that you know the particulars of the question. Nicole, 50 years with no parole. I doubt he will make it that long in prison. That's part of the equation here. That's part of what we are weighing. Our criminal justice system doesn't work this way. Our court system doesn't work this way. This would never happen. But as somebody who's covered this case enough to want so desperately for there to be closure for everybody connected to it, I'm just trying to paint a picture as to what we, in an alternate universe, if this was possible, would it work? Should it work? Should it even be offered to begin with? Trey, it says, JB, absolutely agree with what you just said. I've said a lot of things. So Trey, I don't know what you mean. You'll have to be a little more specific. I've made an argument for this, and I've made an argument against this. So please feel free to follow up and be a little more specific. Sandra says, #HeyJB. He's not going to make it to 80. The likelihood he gets past the next 2 years if he puts in general population is very low. So yes, make the deal and bring home that precious sweet girl. I'd love to know the statistics of how likely it is for somebody to make it to the age of 80 or 85 being locked up away from the world in a prison cell. This is a very intelligent response from the Gooden family. #HeyJB. If the family wanted it, then they should offer whatever they want. Now, our court system doesn't work this way. The family doesn't get to determine a sentence. The family doesn't get to determine a plea deal. The family is going to be very much in communication with prosecutors, with the state attorney's office, but they don't get to make offers, deals, or arrangements. That's not how it works. I would imagine that a good state attorney's office is going to listen and try to take in as much information as possible, as many opinions as possible from the people connected to the story. But I don't know. #HeyJB. Disregarding the sentence he already got in the gun case, my answer is still yes, Moonspark says. Very interesting. So yes, you still would 50 years flat. We will close this out. Close it and say that 71% have voted yes in our extreme hypothetical of whether or not Adam Montgomery should have been offered, or no, in an extreme hypothetical, would you have offered Adam Montgomery 50 years flat, getting out in the year 2074 in exchange for Harmony's remains? Just because we want so badly for that family to have closure for the rest of their life. Very interesting. Again, that is an extreme hypothetical. That is a conversation that I probably would have had with my colleagues in the newsroom, some of my friends. I would have asked them something to this effect. What would it have taken to get this person to break down that barrier and for us to get the truth to Harmony's location, to get it actually done, get the deal done. And instead of doing it with just my friends in the newsroom here in the Stream Center, instead of doing it off camera, I decided to do it with my friends in the chat and discuss this with you. We appreciate you joining us here in the Stream Center. Appreciate everybody who participated interactively on heyjb.live. Let's talk about what is next really quickly. Tuesday. Kohberger. In court in Idaho. Right? I have to check the time, the exact time. It's on my calendar. But Tuesday, Judge in Moscow, Idaho, is expected to finally give a ruling on whether or not the Kohberger trial, the murder trial of the Idaho Four, will be happening in Latah County, or if he will entertain moving it out of that county to a different jurisdiction to get to a jury that is potentially less biased. This is the prosecution, of course, wants it moved. The defense obviously wants it moved out of county. The prosecution wants it moved, wants it to stay. So I think Tuesday's a big day for the Idaho case, and I hope you'll join us. Correction. I think somebody noted earlier, did I say that Jameson was Kayla's kid? I might have gotten words mixed up. My profound apologies. Reporters that should always make corrections when they misstep. If I said that Jameson was the child of Kayla and Adam, no, Jameson's a half sibling, so it's right. No, I'm making sure I have this right for my notes. I think I've seen conflicting reports on it, actually. I'll have to check that off stream. Because if I have heard it addressed as Kayla's half sibling, Jameson. So that would be one parent being the same. So apologies. I will have to triple check. So I'm offering a correction. I'm not entirely sure if it's necessary. Because I am 100% positive I have seen conflicting reports on whether or not Jameson and Harmony are full siblings or half siblings. I'll have to triple check. My apologies on not knowing that for certain. I am at the mercy of the reports that come out of the markets in which we are relying on for coverage. So, all right, folks, really appreciate it. We will see you on Tuesday for our next live stream. That's going to be in Idaho. And we will, of course, continue to cover the Koberger Idaho 4 case. Any questions or comments, you can follow me, of course, at WFLA JB. Big shout out to our moderators. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time here from the Stream Center. Be well, folks. Take care of one another.